Oh my God. He's ditched me again. It's like the Celine Dion World Tour of 2003 all over. Well, unlike 2003, this time I had a contingency plan I've been keeping in my back pocket for this very occasion when Marty pulled this crap once more. If he wants to go listen to Divas all night, that's okay, because I've got backup. So, without further ado, let me bring in tonight's co-host. Since Marty is out checking out, the latest Mariah Carey concert, I am proud to present none other than Jurgen and Aaron, the middle theologian. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
I'm fine. Good morning.
Good morning. It's about 3 a.m. your time, Jurgen?
Yeah, 3 o'clock, yeah.
3 a.m. Okay. And Aaron, you're on the same time zone as myself. How are you doing tonight, Aaron?
I'm at the road, man.
All right. Well, we are
Is
glad
hearing some buzzing.
What's that, Aaron?
Is the sound okay? I'm hearing some buzzing.
You sound a little hissy, maybe. You weren't before, but sounds like there's maybe just a little bit of.
Let me mess with it for a second. If it's fucked up, still I'll use the headphones. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Yep. No worries at all. So, welcome aboard, everybody. Sorry we're a few minutes launching tonight. Just getting a few of the technical difficulties worked out, since this is the first time I've had to drive the show without Marty, because, some things are more important to him, like watching Beyonce live, I guess. But no, in all seriousness, Marty is off at a concert tonight, supporting the local scene in his area, checking out some bands. And so, Jurgen and Aaron were kind enough to sign on and help me out with an episode, and should be a really fun one. So first, let's cover a few normal items of business. If you are interested in heavy metal Metallurgy shirts, there is a link in the comments section, or sorry, not in the comments, in the normal show notes. You know where to look. We also have messages coming in. Yep. Oh, okay. Well, apparently Marty at least bothered to check in and says, looks like you've got it working. Enjoyed the Tina Turner show there, Marty.
I thought you'd seen a Culture Club cover band.
I think that's the opening act. And after that, it's the White Stripes, except I think one of the stripes is dead or something, so it's more like the White Stripe. I don't know. Other things I am supposed to announce. We do have super chats should be available. If they're not, it's all Marty's fault, not mine. He's here. I can throw him under the Mariah Carey tour bus as many times as I want to. And I probably will. But if you want to do the super chat button, it just goes to help support the show. You do not have to, do not feel pressured to. But sometimes folks ask if there's a way that they can help out the podcast a little bit. But they want to do something fun. There we go. Another button that's not working. And so, hopefully that sounds a little clearer now. So yeah, there's another way that just folks can help out the show if they would like to. All right. So, Jurgen, what is new over on your channel? Anything that you would like to announce or tell folks about?
Nothing new. I'm just lazy at the moment. I have several other things to do, like caring about my parents, selling records, packing up records. So,
Everything's going well then. Let's see, Aaron, how are things over at the Metal Theologian channel?
Man, I don't know. People are starting to call me names. Rasta Theologian. And I got called the Metal Rastafarian. I think it's
just imagine who came up with that.
Yeah, present company. No, it's great. And it's funny is I've still been leaning on these new wave British heavy metal 45s a lot. So for this, I kind of had to, because I know you have a lot of that stuff. I had to force myself outside of that a little bit to sort of dig into some other areas. So that was kind of a good exercise.
Good deal. And yeah, let's see. I'm sorry if I'm a little frazzled, folks. Just making sure we got all our bases covered. But yeah, without further ado, let's talk about some metal tonight. So, as you probably noticed, the theme is shown on the thumbnail, which we got up yesterday. The idea from this kind of came from two different directions. Every now and then, while flipping through the record stacks, I noticed a record. I'm like, wow, I've never seen or heard anybody talk about that album on YouTube. Now, of course, I can't watch all the YouTube content, but some of them is like, this one just never seems to come up. And so I've been thinking that could be a cool topic for a stream or an episode of a show. And then when I started talking to Aaron and Jurgen about a topic for this evening, Aaron mentioned that about a month or so ago, there was a vinyl tag that went around that I had not seen. It was started on a channel called TKR VideoCentral. I included a link in the show notes if you want to go check it out. And the vinyl tag essentially was to show 10 albums, CDs, or just any 10 music items that you own that you're pretty sure nobody else in the VC vinyl community does own. So, kind of showing off like, some, very obscure, rare, kind of unique items. And, lots of folks followed up on that tag. I know Vinyl Richie did an episode for it early on and kind of helped spread the word. Aaron, did you do an episode for that? Or did you
I've sort of been kicking it around in my head, but I'm not really interested in the contest. So I thought I might wait until the contest is over and then do my entry so I don't accidentally win it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fair enough.
I've done that before.
Yep, nothing wrong with that at all.
If I like the idea, but I don't really care about like when Metal Mickey's contests, you know what I mean? Because he had some prizes that were cool, right? But they were CDs, and I wouldn't do anything with them,
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, yeah, don't enter me. I'll just make it because it's cool, because it's fun. And this guy looks like he's been doing this thing for a while too. I mean, I wasn't really familiar with him already. I would say I wasn't at all familiar with him before I saw Vinyl Richie's thing. But yeah, it's the Kirkham Report, and I guess he's been doing something with record reviews and that. He has another website or something, and it looks like this is sort of a new piece of that rather than that sort of being a brand new channel in the same way as sort of we have. So,
right, it looks like they have a sort of more of a multimedia approach, and they have relatively recently, expanded.
That's the professional way of saying it, yeah.
So, but yeah, so it seems like, it was an interesting vinyl tag. In talking with Aaron about it, we wanted to tweak it a little bit because, with unique items, sometimes you end up pulling just, like autographed items or a demo from a band that lasted like 3 weeks or something. And sometimes they're items that are just kind of hard for other folks to relate to at all. So, and then in talking with Jurgen about what he wanted to show, we decided we kind of tweak it into, just showing, more obscure heavy metal stuff that, again, we don't really see other folks talking about very much on YouTube. They're just the bands and albums that don't ever seem to come up. There are some that come up an awful lot, and there are some that come up every now and then there are others that, as far as we know, have never really gotten their 5 minutes of fame. And so that's what we're going to try to do tonight. So oh yes, Jurgen, please go ahead.
I think I got that one completely wrong because you said we're talking about metal. I pulled a couple of obscure German prog bands from the 70s.
That is quite okay. No. That is quite all right. That's going to appeal to all the same folks too. No, I have a couple that lean a little bit, out of bounds perhaps. So nothing wrong with that at all.
I didn't pull any reggae though.
Yes, we did politely ask Aaron early on in the conversation to set the Rasta aside for the evening and maybe switch to lanes that are a little more metal adjacent, at least.
I'm a lightweight when it comes to reggae. I couldn't come up. I don't have a lot of reggae where I'd feel like I could hold it up and go, yeah, I'll bet no one else has this.
No, that's fair. We're just a fun with you. But yeah, so that's what we're going to try to do tonight. Is just show some cool things. Some of these may be very rare and expensive, but not necessarily. I do want to make it clear to everybody at the start. Our goal here tonight was not to try to turn this into a total flex off contest. We're not trying to see who's got the craziest, most expensive records or anything like that. I know some of the ones that I'm going to show are very cheap albums that you can probably find without too much effort. It's just that nobody ever really looks for them and nobody ever seems to discuss them. So the show is not about just showing expensive stuff. It's not about just showing the super rare stuff. And I'll just go ahead and make the point now. It's going to take about 2 records before someone in the comments is going to say, Oh, wait, Scott Waters showed that record, 2 months ago. What are you guys talking about? Yes, okay. Someone out there on YouTube has probably talked about some of these records at some point in time, but they're not ones that seem to come up in the conversation that we're aware of. But yes, if you know that some other channel did show one of these, by all means, please put it in the comments. Let other folks know. Folks may want to go check out that video and find out even more about it. But yeah, we're just here to have fun, show off some of the more obscure things that we've got. I do want to start with one question for both of you. And let's see. What is the appeal, do you think? Why do metal fans, metal collectors sometimes really like these more obscure bands? Why don't we all just stick to Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, and the big name stuff? Why collect and track down albums by these bands that most people are not at all familiar with? Jurgen, what do you think the appeal for more obscure types of music and more obscure bands are?
I've been listening to metal for 35 years, something like that, and I guess from the bigger bands, I thought I already heard anything that I needed. I checked out bands like Poison and stuff like that, and I'm not interested in that. So I started to dig a little bit deeper about maybe 20 years ago. I had a couple of friends that had rare records, they had obscure records with great cover artwork. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of great cover artwork tonight.
And some shitty.
I don't know. C or D grade bands is something that appeals to me a lot. I like to listen to some shitty music.
That's quite okay. My parents say everything I listen to is shitty music.
That's funny. No, that's the good stuff. That's why. Because that other shit is great too. I mean, the last time I listened to an Iron Maiden record was 2 nights ago, and I listened to the first 2 records like one after another. And I've had those records. I mean, I bought those copies in the 80s. I was still living in Germany when I bought those. But but something, the more you dig, the more this kind of shit you find. It's just never ending. There's always more. And especially when you don't know anything about them, like it leaves it to your imagination to like make up your own stories about these people. Mm-hmm. It's just, and they just so play the part. That's why I'm sort of the mustaches, right? It's like these kids who can just barely grow a mustache, and this is their band, and they're going to be stars, and they're going to give it everything they fucking got, And I just love that, man. I eat that shit up.
I'm sure, as well as great cover artwork, we're going to see a lot of mustaches tonight as well.
There can be some mustaches, realistically, yeah. But something? I pulled a lot of American records, and the Americans didn't have the mustaches like the Germans.
I pulled a lot of German records.
Yeah, I figured you'd hook us up on the mustache front. There were like 1 or 2 German ones I thought about pulling, but I was like, no, it's I don't have anything that's German that's that obscure. So
that's cool. Yeah, Aaron, anything else you wanted to add on? Yeah, why go after the obscure stuff or why collect it? I think anything else you wanted to add? I didn't want to cut you off.
Well, you didn't cut me off. I mean, I think I expressed the first thought, but the other thing is, we joke about the shittiness, and we were kind of talking about shitty bands a little bit before we went live, but I kind of feel like that's part of the whole ecosystem. You know what I mean? Like mustache metal, right on. Like the shitty bands support the better bands, and the better bands support the great bands. You know what I mean? I think Iron Maiden is a better band for, Fist having been around too, and Fist is a better band for Trident having been around,
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense for sure. Yeah. And I agree with what y'all have said, from a big part of it is, if you stay in, a hobby or an area of interest for long enough, you're going to get tired of the same old items. You can only hear Iron Maiden play Die With Your Boots on so many times before you start wondering what else is out there. And you go to enough record stores and enough record shows and dig around, and you start finding things that look interesting, but you just don't know anything about them. And personally, I just think it's cool to explore those and try to find out what they are. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they are awful. You never know. I'll admit, for me too, it's a little bit of kind of rooting for the underdog.
Yes.
The big bands, we can talk Iron Maiden as many episodes as we want. They don't need us to talk about them. Nobody out there really needs us to tell them about Iron Maiden albums. I think most folks have that covered pretty well. All that stuff is very well documented. They've got hundreds of thousands of fans around the world, that hang on every little thing they do. There's somebody out there today who can tell you how many times Steve Harris has pissed in the past 48 hours. They track these bands closely.
I have a friend from high school who's actually like that. I mean, he's not quite that fanatical, but he's like still as into Iron Maiden as he was when we were 16. Like he sees him on every tour, and it's like a big event. It's a big, like he goes with his wife and shit. It's like this sort of thing in his family, and it's kind of amazing to me how he's sort of like, because I went like in the opposite direction, where I just like split apart, completely atomized as far as where my interests were. I think most people break into like 3 or 4 pieces.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm a little bit like that with Voivod. I follow every step they do.
Right.
I'm a Voivod fanatic. So.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that approach either. If there's a band that someone truly loves, by all means, there's nothing wrong with going after them. As long as you're not going through the garbage, looking for toenail clippings or something. I think it's okay. That might be a little bit. That might be considered a little bit unkosher, but I just nobody. Even if Jurgen never listens to another Voivod song for some reason, Voivod's going to be just fine. Voivod's still going to have plenty of people telling them how great they are, critiquing their stuff. But when you get to some of these smaller acts, some of them just nobody, like we said, talks about some of these, and it's kind of nice. To see that, hey, they may not have made it very big, they may not have made it very far, but they put out that one demo tape, or they got that one single or that one private press album out there, or they were on some tiny little regional label, and they left their mark. Their footstep is there, imprinted on history, and it's kind of sad in a way that nobody sees it, and it kind of gets a little bit buried in time and dust. And so I kind of like being able to say, like, hey, Randy made this single, and check out this, crazy cover on it. And it's just fun to dig those things up, because otherwise they do kind of get a little bit lost in the sands of time.
Yeah. Another one I thought about pulling actually was the Saber 45, but I know you have that.
I do. Yep. I've got, and it will be interesting to see if we do step on each other's toes, even though we're trying to pick things that, I
kind of left it deliberately loose. I pulled a bunch so I could figure I actually don't even know how many I pulled. I didn't even count. I just figured I'll sort of react to what's going on, and we'll sort of let it flow. And I'll probably think of a couple things and jump up anyway, because I always do that when I'm live. That's kind of my trademark at this point, I think.
That's quite okay. There's nothing wrong with working on the fly. And for folks in the chat, again, sorry if I'm a little slower on getting comments posted and put on screen, but if there are bands or albums that are your sort of pet albums, the obscure one that you love that nobody else seems to even know it exists, by all means, put them in the chat comments. Let folks maybe see some names that they'll be interested in going out and checking.
We might be able to take requests, huh? So.
Maybe that could be
doing that on stream before, but I've never actually done it. I don't think. What I was going to say about the Sabers, if you look it up on Discogs, you know how it says that it was only sold at one specific record store in Cleveland.
Oh no, I haven't noticed that.
You know what I'm talking about? It says it. Yeah, it says the only place that this was actually sold at the time was at the store called Chris's Warped Records in Cleveland, and that was the place I used to go to on my lunch breaks in high school. And I actually bought my copy of that in a dollar bin, except it was only like a quarter. It was like a quarter bin. I didn't have the sleeve, but I'd seen it around and never really gave a shit. And I was like, well, it's a quarter. And then I sort of forgot about it for like 10 years. And then I pulled it out. And I was like, this is mediocre. And then I forgot about it for another 10 years. And I pulled it out. I was like, this is fucking fantastic. Holy shit. And I looked it up, and it was like this mega rarity. I was like, holy shit.
Yep. Yeah, some of these things do become very rare and very collectible once, word does get out about them a little bit one way or another. But
I just want to tell that story because it's kind of a good one for the topic, I think. But I couldn't actually pull it out because I know you have it. And you have a sleeve, which if you had asked me if it existed, I would have said I didn't believe it did before I saw it.
It's not one we see very often. But with that, that's a good segue too, Aaron. Why don't we go ahead and start showing things? And Aaron, how about we'll let you go first.
Because I'm already talking so much.
Huh? You got a great transition there. So yeah, let's keep it rolling and have you show the first thing.
You know something on that note. Okay, this is one that I've hyped before, but this is one of my all-time favorites. Okay, and I'll just be honest right now. This is an expensive record. And I'm making a big deal out of this because if anyone is like runs a label like No Remorse, High Roller, some startup thing you want to get going, man, this fucking record needs a reissue. I suspect that someone is going to need to talk the band into doing it because I'm not the first person to think about this, but nobody but me ever talks about fucking Raven Bitch. And this record is so good. Like it's like you know what it's like? It's like a speed metal band, but for most of their shit, they slowed it down. And that tends to be some of my very favorite metal is like the bands that are speedy by nature. When they play a slower song, they bring that chunk into like, you know, sort of more of a Motorheady type of riff than like a Metallica riff. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. These guys just bring it. It's 4 songs and one's an instrumental, and it's still great from start to finish, even though you'd think it was a little bit light there. And they're actually from Janesville, Wisconsin. So they fit like, you know, those fucking pictures, the local club. Yeah, they're actually from Paul Ryan's congressional district.
Yeah, I think they didn't they like play at his inauguration or something?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Possibly not.
This actually, since we're going with the stories anyway, I actually got this from the singer. He reached out to me and he was like, "Yeah, you know, I have a copy that I'll, you know, can let you go." He was like, you know, it's the record's in really nice shape, but the cover's a little bit chewed up, you know. And I figured, so I was imagining that, like, you know, when it sort of gets a little bit rubbed, sort of idiomatically, we'll say the cover's a little bit chewed up, and you mean it's like bent, but it showed up and it was literally chewed up. Like by a fucking mouse or something like that. And on the one hand, it pisses me off, and I'd like to get a better copy. But on the other hand, this is my copy. Mm-hmm. You know? And I have the story. Even the insert's perfect, too. But this is just a fantastic record. It is seriously, I would put this up there with any, you know, Big Four or whatever kind of band with a bigger production budget or whatever. And someone should, like, put this shit out and make it available so you can get it without having to spend hundreds of dollars. That's just a fucking tragedy because they're fucking great. That's my intro.
That's a good one. I have not heard that one. I know it by reputation, but no, I don't have that one.
Yeah, I was wondering if you might have that because I'm sure you've heard of it. But no, I love that record, dude. And there's some that hype, and it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Like some other shit I might be pulling out a little bit. So I let all the cats out of the bag. But this one, 100%, man. Like, no irony. It's just great.
Mm-hmm. Good deal.
See, stuff like that you just simply cannot find here in Germany.
You know, the irony is most of what I learned about this shit, especially early on, was from Germans on German websites. And I don't know where Alan was getting all his information, probably more from magazines and shit, because he started a little before I did, I think. But when I started in earnest, it was most of what I learned about this shit was on that. You probably remember the Metal Treasures website. It was all in German.
Yep.
So that was where my information came from. That was my only resource.
Yeah, there's a couple of German guys who collect since the early mid-'80s, and they know everything. They have everything. And these were the guys that started doing lists and explaining a little bit about the bands.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, is Metal Treasures the one that got shut down maybe 5 or 6 years ago? There was one of the big German sites that had that kind of stuff. That
there was. You're probably thinking of the Metal Page. That was actually the successor to the Metal Treasures.
Okay. Yeah, because it kind of got a lot of their content got picked up and salvaged by the Corosium website, which is where I got a lot of information from when I started out. But yeah, you can still find a lot of those reviews in German in the Corosium site. For a year or two, I was helping Dan translate or just write new English reviews for some of those records.
Oh, no shit. I've noticed that you did a lot of stuff on there. I didn't want to make you self-conscious about it by just bringing it up like this. But, you know,
no, yeah. Okay.
Seemed like you had a hand. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't get to do a ton of them. Just work got in the way and stuff. But yeah, I did. I don't know.
Too, man. Translation is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so we talked about translation, and then Dan was like, it'll just be easier for you to write something new, and then if somebody can read German, they have two opinions instead of one to look at. So it's like, I would write reviews on some of them that only had a German review, so that he could add and update an English version as well. But so yeah,
a couple. There've been one or two where I started reading it. I was just sort of going through, and I was like, I recognize this opinion on this record. Then I scrolled down. I was like, yeah, Alan said the same thing in his video.
Yep. Might have plagiarized myself a couple of times. It's happened. For sure.
Oh, you're consistent, You hold the same opinion now as you did then,
Mostly.
It's easy to not lie if you're telling the truth.
Indeed. All right, Jurgen, let's go over to you and caught you reaching for something there.
Tim in the comments is asking if this is a rare record. I haven't pulled it because it's on, in Germany, it was released on US Metal Records. I think, I don't know what it's on New Renaissance. So for me, that is a pretty common record.
Mm.
I bought that shortly after it came out because I loved the cover. So we're not talking about that now.
Oh, that's okay though. Thanks for covering that for Tim. Let's see. What would you like to show for your first one tonight, Jurgen?
I decided I'm not gonna show krautrock. I'm gonna stick with the metal. So first up, we've got Gandhi with the album Destruction Forever. Have you seen that, Aaron?
No, I've seen the name on lists, and I was like, that is the dumbest fucking name I've ever heard in my life. Gandhi, and then misspelled, like that makes it better.
Yeah. And the main man is
fucking bought that thing, dude. Is it good? I'll bet it's great.
I think it's great.
It's great.
It's got 1 out of 6 point in Metal Hammer. So that was the reason I bought it about a couple of years after it came out. It was only 2 Deutschmarks.
Wow.
I bought it at Saturn Hansa. You know that? So that's a big electronic chain that had records back in the day.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know, man. It was so long ago. I think so. No.
The main man in the band is Arnie Gandhi.
Oh my God!
First mustache in there. Look at the band photo,
dude.
It's great.
That's an awesome picture.
That is really good.
Yes, women heavy metal, and it was out on Metal Giant Records, and they only put out 2 of the Gandhi records.
That was before they got picked up by a major.
No. Yeah, it's poorly produced. It's Judas Priest ripoff. It's got boring vocals. So that's the shit that I like. I still have to listen to the second one. I just ordered that one. So my first choice, Gandhi with Destruction Forever.
We've set the bar high. That's cool. Never seen that one before.
That's why we're here, huh?
Exactly.
Dude, that's so fucking good. Like, right. Gandhi.
Like, yeah, crap. How do I know that?
This record is not too expensive, so I'm sure at one point you are going to search for that.
Dude, I brought it up on Discogs right now. I'd share my screen, but it's not funny enough to be worth it. But yeah, this is like for when we're done, so I have it handy.
How much is it at the moment?
5 for sale, starting at 25 euros for a VG. I had a VG Plus copy, so
okay, so
25-30 it looks like.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
No, it's not bad at all. The shipping's bad.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Something we touched on in the intro. Just because these records are obscure and no one's heard of them, they're not all going to be $1,000 records that are impossible to find. Aaron's already got it in the cart over there on Discogs. It sounds like
Metal Giant records. I thought when you mentioned U.S. metal records before, I'm like, that's already scraping pretty deep in the barrel. That was like, that's like. That's like the green world, except it's worse than green. Well, I don't know. I don't even know.
U.S. Metal Records was a shady company. I don't know if New Renaissance even knew they licensed their stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
U.S. Metal Records, it's the same owner that had Shark Records, if you remember that.
Who was on Shark? It sounds familiar.
The first two Sepultura albums in Europe were...
Oh, that is where it's... Okay, I remember seeing those on lists, but no, I don't actually remember it. That's where I know it from. It's just seeing it on a list.
Shady person.
That's
right.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll start. I can't top Gandhi, but we'll start with one. For some reason, whenever I think about records no one has shown, this is always one of the first one that floats to the top of my mind, and there's no reason for it, but it always does. In Flight's album. It's a band from Texas. I think they were in the Houston area. This came out in '85. I always thought the cover was interesting because you have big, great medieval dragon. Dragons are very metal, unlike dolphins, but it's like sitting on top of a skyscraper, the Space Needle or something. So it's kind of like time traveling dragon. I don't know. Where's the castle? Where's the swords and the Conan and stuff? It's like this completely different two things kind of smashed together on the cover. They don't quite fit, that you never see, but it kind of makes it a little unique. They've got the dragon on the label as well. It's just a little private label they made for themselves. Nothing else is on it except for their album, and they did release a single to help push their album, so you can get 2 of the tracks on a single as well. Never came in a picture sleeve.
Is that the special radio edit?
No, actually, no, I think they're both the same running time, though. They're short enough as it is. But it's not a bad little metal album. It's very much what you'd expect around 84, 85. It's very guitar-driven, like a lot of Texas bands were. It's not a good point of reference, but if folks are familiar with the Mad Hatter LP from Texas, it's kind of like a slightly tamer version of Mad Hatter. One reason I always think of this band is that while it's a good album, it's the perfect example of a group that is too heavy to appeal to a mainstream audience. The songs are a little too fast, a little too much guitar heroics going on. It would never have gotten any real radio play, but they're also too lightweight for most headbangers to take a big interest in. It may just be the production, but the songs have like a real airy sound to them, kind of lightweight material. The singer's voice is not particularly heavy at all. The songs are good. They're catchy. There's nothing wrong with them. For a band at this level, kind of that Trident level that Aaron, you established earlier, it was actually a pretty good project.
It looks great.
It's pretty good. I do like it. But they had to have a real hard time finding their audience because they're stuck between 2 worlds. And it's not a case that they're writing a few ballads and then a few heavy songs. No, every single song is just right there stuck in the middle where the metalheads would listen to it and say, posers. But, anybody with poodled up hair would listen to it and be like, oh, that's scary. That's too heavy. I don't like the dragon. So I can see why the band had no luck whatsoever.
That's such a 70s looking logo, doesn't it?
It does have a little bit of a 70s vibe to the logo and even the cover in a way.
Yeah, I can see it on the cover too, but the logo looks like it should be on a fucking Steel Eye Span record or something. Not on a metal record,
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's one of those kind of semi-rare things. It's not impossible to find, but you don't see it all the time. And it's also one of those kind of mid-priced records most of the time. You're not going to find it for $5 or $10, but you're not going to pay, if you're paying $100 for this, rethink your budget, because that shouldn't be necessary whatsoever. So yeah, not a super expensive one, not a super hard one to find. Never heard anybody mention this band. I don't even know how I stumbled across the band, but came across it, picked it up, and yeah, if you like guitar-driven, kind of slightly up-tempo but not really fast, mid-80s metal that's not too heavy, yeah, this is a nice one. You can do a lot worse than the In-Flight album. And the songs on the single are the exact same versions from the album, so really there's no reason to have the single if you've got the album. I just have it because, well, some little monkeys are sick, and there we are.
It's like a catchphrase.
It has become a thing, and if there's one thing I'm good at, it's taking a running joke and beating it into the ground. All right, so I am going to switch views back over here. We'll get Aaron. It is your turn to be front and center once more. So what would you like to show for item number 2 tonight?
I'm all changing my mind here. You know something? I'm going to show this one. Because this is what I thought of. I thought of crappy ones that I kind of love. This is The Wages of Sin.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This one doesn't have as good a reputation as the other one, I don't think.
No.
Like, yeah, it's got this fucking dog on the back. And I think it's just him, like with a drum machine and some shit. And yeah, it's really crappy and like kind of poorly put together, and it's just fucking fantastic. It sounds like one guy who was like a little bit out of his tree and wrote songs like Satan's Charm and Head On Collision and Pleasures of the Flesh. And yeah. There's his name is Eugene Sant, and he's by these gravestones. So there's like talk that like that was the band having split up, and that was what that was supposed to represent. But I don't know. It's lore. What I do know is that this fucking record is just a weird thing. I mean, look at that logo; it just isn't quite right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just great. It's kind of thin from a production standpoint. The beats aren't always quite right, but it's always fantastic.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, actually, you know something? That was my favorite thing about black metal. Like, to the degree that I was ever into black metal, which was a fair bit for a while, it was all about the one-man black metal bands, yeah. Like the guys at Asshole, I'm not going to like argue about that, but the one-man shitty band, genius. This is Burzum I'm talking about here, in case someone is listening to this after the fact and didn't see the comment.
Mm-hmm. In the early 2000s, I had a bedroom black metal project as well. Aaron, let me see if I still got a copy of the CD. Maybe I'm going to dub it to a tape and send it to you. The band was called Lattenfrost.
Awesome. Actually, it's a little obvious, but hey, one of my favorite ones was there was a band called they wanted to say like they were in the middle of the woods, but in German, but they didn't know any German, so they called themselves Zwischen den Wald.
Zwischen dem Wald.
And then they changed their name, and it didn't sound any better, right? But when it was actually incorrect, I was like, "That is brilliant!" And I actually kind of, but I really wanted to like it.
It sounds like you weren't quite able to like it, though.
I wasn't quite able to like it. I really can't recommend that fucking tape. It's a piece of shit. I would not say that Wages of Sin sounds very much like black metal. It sounds more like what the guy was going for was what metal sounded like in 1982.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have heard that one, and yeah, your description's pretty good. It's not the strongest material out there.
No, but just because it isn't strong doesn't mean it doesn't have the power.
Oh no, it's one that's I've seen it on one list. It's one that people dig a little bit. So nothing wrong with that. All right, Jurgen, what is number 2 on your list this evening?
Talking about power, you want to see a really, really powerful album cover.
Oh yeah.
This is so mighty. The band is called Breaker, and the album is called Dead Rider.
Oh, I have never heard this. I've seen this. Yeah.
Great album artwork. This one is from
for a while, dude.
1985, and it's got Eberhard Weil on vocals and bass guitar. He later on played in Accuser on the first couple of albums.
Really?
So this one is out on Bacillus Records. I'm sure Aaron knows that label.
How did that?
Huh?
That just doesn't track, man. Like you have the Message records, then you have that.
Yeah, but on Bacillus you have the Talon records as well.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It just seems weird, man.
And they had more of that progressive rock stuff, like Nectar was on the label, for example. But Breaker sounds like Poor Man's Accept. Maybe a little bit speedier, and the vocals a little bit screechier, even screechier than Udo Dirkschneider. I always loved that cover.
Dude, yeah.
That's a metal cover right there.
It's tweaking me, man.
So there you go. Oh, for you guys in the US, that is Bacillus Records, German record label. Like I said, a little bit of heavy metal, but mostly known for their prog stuff they put out.
Okay. I think I have.
Yeah, like when I was in the German prog shit, if something was on Bacillus, that's like a mark in its favor. Not everything was always great, but there were some real classics on Bacillus.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I think I have one record on that label. I don't know what it is, but the label looks real familiar, but I didn't know it was mainly a prog label. That's cool.
Were some of the very first Accept on Bacillus?
I had the first couple on Brain.
Oh yeah, they were on Brain, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I got those on purpose on Brain because I thought it was funny that those records were on a label called Brain.
Yeah. Brain was better than Spiegelei, though.
Oh, Spiegelei is awesome, though. My copy of Paranoid is on Spiegelei, you know.
Yeah. These
right,
records
anyway.
Folks definitely approve of the Breaker cover.
Oh, good.
Not a shirt of the album cover would be fine.
Well, Peter says Lucifer's Friend is on Bacillus. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I've got. Maybe that's what I've got on Bacillus. Is an old Lucifer's Friend album.
Didn't the My Solid Ground record come out on Bacillus?
Don't know that one.
Oh, it's great, dude. It's so good. Anyway, that's not metal. We'll say that for later. We can.
Fair enough. All right. Let's see. For my second one, this is an old favorite, and I have mentioned this probably in an old video on my channel. This one, I'm not only rooting for the underdog, but I'm kind of rooting for the hometown guys, because this is probably the band closest to my hometown that ever got an album put out that was the least bit heavy. Is the excellently named White Boy and the Average Rat Band.
Awesome.
There's a cover for you with all these guys on the ladder, except it was really just kind of a one-man project for the most part. These guys, I think one guy helped out on drums just a bit, and one guy helped out in the studio just a bit, but pretty much a one-man, bedroom project before that was cool, because this stuff was recorded like around 79 and 1980, right on the state line between Virginia and West Virginia. So, and again, that's, I grew up in that area. It's coal mining country. And this dude wanted to record music. He was working for the one store in town. They had a little tiny in the back of the store, and he got to kind of use it during off hours. And over some time, he put together enough tracks to make his own album. Just a little thing, technically considered Tradewind record, or Tradewind label. And of course, it went nowhere, quickly got buried. You really only found this in a few shops kind of there in the mid-Atlantic area. He took copies up to like Charleston, West Virginia, and put them in some record stores, places like that. and it kind of got lost for a few years. And then sometime maybe in the late 80s or early 90s, there was a vinyl dealer from England who had relocated to that exact neck of the woods, right there in the mountains on the state line between Virginia and West Virginia. And somehow he came across it, met the guy, whatever, and then he started kind of hyping it. The guy still had copies, like, hey, I'll help you sell those. I'll put them on my. He was would do a set sale list. He was literally one of those old things where you had to like send a self-addressed stamped envelope to this address to get my record list, 4 times a year. And so he started, putting this album on his list and talking it up as like, the second coming of Jesus and all the angels. And so it quickly started building up, reputation underground. And it is a really fun album.
I love it.
I love it too. I'm glad to hear that you know it and also like it. I guess these days people would almost consider it like an outsider art kind of project. It's heavy. It's a little trippy, a little psyche. It's not, thrash metal or anything. It's 1980 for God's sake. It's only going to be so heavy at that point. But yeah, it just does all these, cool, random, weird, offbeat things, but they actually work out pretty good.
It's kind of clueless in that way that makes it special.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. You can tell the guy.
They kind of sound like they wanted to be Loverboy. But they were heavy than that, and they had better songs than that, and they fucking rocked. And it was just a great. I don't have a real one though. I just have that reissue that was kicking around. Mm-hmm. The first time someone pressed up a bunch, I think there was a recent one from a couple of years ago now on colored vinyl, and then before that, like maybe 10 years ago or something, there was kicking around, and that was when I got mine.
Yeah. It was bootlegged on vinyl around 2010 with a small run, and then I think I want to say it was like Heavy Metal Museum or someone. Yeah, did a CD reissue. The reissue actually came with refrigerator magnets of the cover.
That's awesome.
I've got it right here on the file cabinet next to me. But yeah, really cool one-off project. He did later on record a little more music, and I think in the past couple of years he actually put out like a CD of some newer stuff. But yeah, whatever. The old original vinyl one, that one is hard to come by, and it can get kind of pricey because, like Aaron said, while it's kind of clueless, it also appeals to several different collecting groups. The folks that kind of like, the fuzzed out, psyche heavy 70s stuff like that album. Some of the metal community likes that album.
The AOR collectors probably like it too.
You end up having to compete with a wider audience when you do find a copy of it. I was lucky years ago. I found a guy. This has been a while, so I'm a little rusty on the details. The guy had a copy for sale online. I think it was through an eBay auction, and I emailed him from some details, and he was actually turned to be a really nice, really cool guy, and he wasn't far away from me. He was up in North Carolina. And, so we exchanged a lot of emails back and forth. I ended up winning the record. But in talking with him, he had mentioned that he had a second copy of the record, too. He didn't really know, too much about it. He just bought like a bunch of crazy looking old records up in Charleston, West Virginia, and was putting them on eBay. And in talking back and forth with him, we ended up, I just met him. He was like only an hour away. I met him to get the record. And I ended up buying the second copy of the record as well. We kind of worked it out for like a one bundle price and talked to him. And it was he was really nice. And so he gave me a little more info about where he had seen copies of the record scattered here and there when he had been hunting around. He just didn't know it was a thing. But he was happy to find out that it was worth a bit, and I was happy. I ended up with 2 copies, and the second one I ended up trading for another rare album that we might see a little bit later on tonight.
All right, I won't ask then. I was all set because I want to know.
Well, stay tuned. We'll get back around to that. All right, so let me shuffle the cards here, and then Aaron, you are back to the front of the line.
All right, this one kind of made a late appearance, actually. In fact, I hope I pulled it out. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen anyone show this record, except I might have shown it once. Does anyone have the Nothing Sacred record? Death Wish? I think these guys might have made an album after that. After this, I don't know, but they were Australian. And I actually got this. I was getting a bunch of other shit from a dealer. This is a little bit on the higher side, but I was like, yeah, it looks cool. It looks like something I probably would regret if I passed on. So what the hell? So it wasn't like an arm and a leg. It was expensive compared to like the $5 and $10 records. It might have been 20 or 30, but it has all this shit in it too, man. Like, especially given that it's just like a 4-track EP. Yeah, let me show this one more time, and I'll show the extras. Yeah, it even plays at 45, and it's really good. It's just like solid, like metal from the era. And they got their Vanity label. Looks like a private press or however they work the shit out in Australia. Well, like it has like a poster. I mean, like a insert where they have a bunch of thanks, and it comes with a poster too. And then it had this fucking booklet in it. Look at this. This came with an EP.
Huh.
What am I going to do? Read this? I'm being a smart ass now, but it's like all the shit about the band. I mean, it's almost like a promo pack or something. But as far as I know, this isn't a promo copy. Maybe they just put them all together like this or something. Anyway, it's a cool record. And it's one that, again, people don't really seem to be aware of all that much. And, for my own part, I'm not exactly an expert in Australian metal. If you're going to stump me, that's a good part of the world to try and pull from. So it might just be my own ignorance, but Nothing Sacred is a banger. If you come across this and it's not too bad, give it a chance, man, because it's good.
Oh, that Nothing Sacred record is great.
Yeah,
I love it. They made an album 2 years ago, I think.
Really? Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Do you have this?
I've got it on tape.
Okay. Well, I still wouldn't have pulled it if I had known.
That's cool. I do not know that one at all. Let's see. All right.
No, it's great. Straight up heavy metal.
It really is, and it doesn't really like it. Like the hooks are good. It's a really easy record to listen to, but they don't do honestly what a lot of Australian bands seem to do, which is fall into the AC/DC thing. They're just straight ahead. They're true to themselves. It's great.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Quietly.
All right, Jurgen, let's see what you got next.
Let's move over to Sweden, 1983. 6 Feet Under.
I've seen this, but I've never heard it.
It's awesome.
It looks awesome.
It's a little bit. It sounds a little bit out of its time. It's not actually real. It is heavy metal, but it's got some Deep Purple overtones with a little bit of new wave of British heavy metal in the sound. Nothing special here.
It's sort of like if the White Spirit 45. It's sort of like they had made a whole album that was as good as that. That's what it sounds like. Because the actual White Spirit record is kind of boring. That one's better.
The vocals on it are really, really laid back. A little bit AOR-ish, but an easy one to listen to. I love that record. And it was out on the Europa Film Records. Looks like that. I haven't checked out if they released other heavy metal records, but I sure will. So that's my choice. 6 Feet Under before Chris Barnes' 6 Feet Under. These are way better than. Yeah.
So okay,
Not
so
talk about that.
Yeah.
So when we say that 6 Feet Under didn't always suck, we now know that yes, we're telling the truth.
Yeah, back in '83 they were great. Yeah.
The demo years are always better.
Too. That one was a blind buy. I found that at Recycled Records on Haight Street, like back, I don't know, probably in the 90s. And I picked it up and I remember looking at it and there were a couple of things like that label was like a little bit, this isn't a metal label. Maybe there's something wrong here. But I gave it, I rolled the dice and I came right home and loved it. So
yeah, it's not a very expensive record, even nowadays. It's about $20 record, something like that.
Yep.
6 Feet Under actually did a second album, but I never heard that one.
Oh, I didn't know they had one.
I didn't either.
Yeah, they that was from 1984. But sure, at some point, I'm gonna buy it.
Was it called 7 Feet Under? That's the big question.
Yeah,
I hope not.
Very cool. All right, so next up, I'll go with this one. Yeah, Aaron asked about this one earlier, and might as well get it out of the way. It was on the thumbnail. This is another one I've always been surprised no one has ever shown, because it's not an expensive record, and it's not that hard to find. There are copies on Discogs right now for probably like $20. It is Grudge with Barbarians of the New Earth, which is a great title for an album.
It is. It's really promising, isn't it?
It's got the big metal bird on the cover. It's got a big metal logo on the cover. It's got a big metal title. Title's not actually on the front of the cover, but it's there somewhere. You check out the guys. They don't exactly look like they're ready for the Mad Max universe.
They look like the fucking E Street Band.
Yeah. These might be more like the minstrels of the New Earth, not necessarily barbarians of the New Earth, but they are.
Checking out the band picture. Is it Barbarians or Bavarians?
Barbarian Yellow Earth. But yeah, this one has kind of a weird history to it. There's almost no info I ever came across on the band. If you check, you can check, Metal Archives, Discogs, and radio places, and it's like even just band locations, like not available. United States, 1985, Grudge Records, and there was only one other thing ever released on Grudge Records, and it's another metal album by a band called Lords of the Crimson Alliance, which another great name. And it has a fantastically bad cover, but I actually don't have a physical copy of it, so didn't pull that one tonight. There's always been Oh, okay, yeah. If Aaron's got that, we'll take a look at it because it's worth a gander. Absolutely. And so yeah, the weird kind of conspiracy theory about the Grudge album has always been that it's actually just the same exact band as Lords of the Crimson Alliance, with the guys singing under different names, and they swapped out the vocalist. Lords of the Crimson Alliance have a very distinct vocalist. The dude's very much in the King Diamond, really high falsetto style. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Gaze upon it and wonder.
Too, man.
Oh, it's not a bad record. It's not a bad record at all.
Well, I don't like the Grudge record very much, but this one's fantastic.
The Lords of the Crimson Alliance is cool. The vocals are really, really high, and they can't, if you do not like King Diamond vocals, you are not going to have a good time sitting through Lords of the Crimson Alliance. But anyway,
but
so
still have that fucking cover, man.
The cover, yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, so there's always kind of been this, a little innuendo that the two bands were one and the same, just with different guys singing. Don't know if there's anything to that or not, but the Grudge record is very much, it's a love it or hate it kind of thing, as you may have already picked up. I kind of love it, and Aaron kind of doesn't.
You do kind of love it?
I kind of love it. I kind of do. It's pretty and I see why people don't. It's pretty simple. These guys are not going to be auditioning for Ingwe's backing band anytime soon.
Yeah, it's not simple like simple. It's simple like stupid.
It's simple like they mostly know how to play their instruments, but they're not going to test that theory too awfully hard. And the songs, yes, the songs have kind of a brain dead quality about them, but in kind of the pro wrestling, it's fun if you don't think about it way. And I think that's where you've got to come at it from. The songs are all over the place. You've got songs like Alien Hunter about, it's a sci-fi thing with, aliens, tracking down spaceships and eating people. You have a song called Maximum Suction. I'm pretty sure that's about vacuum cleaner engines, possibly about something else. Maybe it's about outer space again. There's a track called White House Sluts. There's definitely sort of a bit of an attitude to this, even though they're pretty limited in what they can do. they're going to do it very in your face. They're going to make it kind of heavy sounding, and it'll just kind of the two reviews I've seen for it, and granted, one of them was mine. You both right away use the phrase, it's kind of just balls out heavy metal. They're not that good. They're not going to pretend to be that good, but they're going to come at you with so much charisma that they're going to try to win you over just on the fact that, we're here and we're going to be as heavy as we fucking can be and have fun with it. And so, at the end of the day, I've always thought it was, a fun listen, but it is not something to listen to if you want to hear a really good record. It's something to listen to if you just want to hear a really fun record. The songs need work.
I'm not kidding. You sold me.
You give it a chance. You make them. If you could disagree, I get it. There's a lot of folks that do not like that album. The songs, a lot of times, they'll just like stop in the middle, just kind of do this like little jerky jump. It's like, guys, you got to keep the beat going here a little bit. So it has its problems, but I like it. And again, it's not that hard to get. It's not that hard to. It's not expensive at all. And so I'm always amazed it hasn't come up on somebody's list of undiscovered gems or on somebody's list of 10 albums that completely and totally suck, depending on where they stand on the Grudge album. But Barbarians of the New Earth. If you've got a few dollars to burn and you're feeling adventurous for something, that it almost again, it's got kind of a heavy guitar tone. It's almost like mid '80s Pentagram. If Victor Griffin had no idea how to play the guitar or something. It's a weird one, but it's kind of fun. But I have rambled on enough about Grudge, and I've given them their 5 minutes of fame, which was all I wanted to do tonight. So with that mission accomplished, Aaron, let's pull you back over to the corner and see what you got next on your list.
Am I really up again?
You are up again.
Someone just was talking about the Wheels of Steel, and I'll tell you, that's like my number one want as far as what I'm after.
Oh, okay. That was something I was going to ask y'all. What obscure things you're still after that you haven't tracked down. I'm sorry.
Do you have that one?
No, I do not. I have it on digital. I have digital files of it. I have heard the album.
It's bad,
It's a bad album. Yeah.
All this money for it. Like there's a limit to how much of an ass I'm willing to make out of myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm willing to spend a lot of money on a record that I know is bad, but that doesn't mean I'm willing to spend fucking $600. Fuck that. I know what else is going to. Yeah. So I'll just wait, Yeah.
No, that's a good point, Aaron. Something like Grudge. If you pay $20 for the Grudge album and you think it sucks, no big deal.
Yeah.
If you pay several $100s for Wheels of Steel, or it's like whoever bought that Schizophrenic single, on eBay a week or two ago and paid $700, and that thing sounds like it's part of the soundtrack to Sesame Street or something. It's not funny at that point anymore.
Yeah.
But
anyway, I don't know because that's been a thorn in my side. You know who actually put me onto that too is Jan Svanhill.
Oh,
he's a dealer in San Francisco.
Yep.
So, all right. Anyway, this is another one that I was actually kind of blind bought based on I kind of resent the Priestoid thing a little bit, but it's a great hard rock metal obscuro. I actually don't think it's very priesty, but they're called Mansfield. And it's a 12-inch that, as far as I know, never had a jacket. It's called Gonna Rock You on side A, and on side B is Overdrive. And that's all I know about it right there. This was the shop at Amoeba in Hollywood, actually, when I was living in LA. And it was like maybe $10. And I was like, sure, I'll roll the dice. And it's really good. I don't think I've ever seen anyone show this one before. No one really seems to know about it. I don't think it's a very expensive record. I mean, it might be more than that now, but I don't think it's like, a $400 record or even a $100 record and shit like that. But it's a really cool piece. It doesn't get much more obscure than this.
Yeah.
And the name sucks. I mean, I almost didn't buy it because they were called Mansfield. That might partially be because when I was a kid, the summer camp that I got sent to that I hated was in Mansfield, Ohio. So I kind of have like bad associations with the word Mansfield. But even in spite of that, it's a fucking awesome record, man. So check it out if you get a chance. Gonna Rock You and Overdrive. Just want to say that again because if you just search for Mansfield, you might not find much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, we may see a couple more examples of that later, but those things that are in the, just the plain covers,
Yeah.
those are a total crapshoot because you get very little information to go on with those. A lot of people just never even stop and look at them much.
Of course, people like us get fooled by a great cover on a shitty record too. So that can cut both ways.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's nice to have the indicator, but they might be lying.
It has happened. We've all been bitten by that, I'm sure. All right, Jurgen, you're back.
Yeah, back to Germany. We've got 6 Feet Under. Now we've got 6.6. What a stupid band name. Looks like that. Have you seen that, Aaron?
I have, yeah. I don't think I have it though. I have to check, but I'm pretty sure I don't have it.
Yeah,
I think I've seen it, but I do not have it, and I've never heard it. But the cover looks familiar.
From 1984, and it is more on the hard rock side of things. A little bit of Scorpions influences here. Sometimes they have twin guitars, which reminds a little bit of the new wave of British heavy metal. It's got memorable songs like the 6 Feet Under record. It is a very easy listening album. And I love the cover artwork. Looks great.
I should give that a chance. A big part of it was just they're called 6.6. I was like,
Yeah.
It's not I like some other stuff, Hot Blood.
You gotta wonder why they didn't call themselves 6.66. They'd have sold more records, I guarantee it.
Yeah, that'd still be a crap name, though. I mean, let's face it.
I didn't say it'd be a good name, but at least there would have been a kind of a thing there.
Yeah,
but it says play it loud.
Has there ever been a heavy metal record that said play it medium?
Play it at medium volume. Yeah.
Play it slightly higher than normal volume.
So
if I ever make a metal album, it will say, play at, a generally pleasing volume. And I'll be the only one.
Like Aaron said, it's on the Hot Blood Records. They did a lot of German stuff in the 80s, and I love that label.
A lot of kind of crappy German stuff, right? Like, I like that Maniac record kind of a lot.
Yeah.
And you know who else I like even more is High Tension. But like Vectum, they're really kind of crappy. Like, I really want to like Vectum. They're so awesome. It's kind of.
I think we're gonna talk about High Tension later on.
All right.
It is coming. It is coming. Very cool. All right. Let's see what I've got on my stack here next. I don't think I've ever heard anybody even make a reference to this one. And I don't get why, because it's pretty good, actually. We'll go to Italy for this one. And it's a band called Danger Zone with a release called Victim of Time. There's something happening on this cover. Not sure exactly. There's a knife and a mask and somebody who needs a whole hell of a lot more vitamin C or something. But it's it's one of those. It's an EP mini album thing. It's got 6 tracks on it. Here are the culprits. Pretty nondescript looking here. But it's actually a very good, solid, straightforward heavy metal release. It's from '84, and usually, early mid '80s Italian metal, you're thinking more stuff like Death SS or Paul Chain, or some of the stuff like Rollerball, where it's maybe kind of rough around the edges. But Danger Zone's actually got a pretty straightforward and pretty solid sound. They're energetic tracks, upbeat, guitar driven. They're weird for not having that weird Italian vibe about them whatsoever. If you didn't know it was from Italy, it might take you a couple of guesses to figure out that it's actually from Italy and it's not somewhere else in Europe. They did a few other things, and actually I think they've made some albums maybe like in the 2010s. I don't remember exactly. So they got the band back together much later on. But yeah, it's a cool mini album. I always hate using the term mini album, but that's my hang up. But yeah, actually several good songs on it. I've never once seen anybody chat about it on YouTube or anything. It's one that I'm pretty sure somebody over at the Colosseum had mentioned or sent me MP3s of at one point. So I was like, oh, that's really good, because I actually went and hunted this down on purpose. And it was not an easy one to find. I don't have a feel for what its price is, but it's not one that is all that easy to come across.
So, Alan, you want me to flex or not?
Oh, absolutely. I think folks in the chats are getting a little bit restless waiting for you to flex.
Did I get up in an ostentatious way? Okay, so I actually found this in the wild when I was living in LA. It has the insert, which is cool.
Very cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's a test press.
Oh, holy shit. Wow. That's neat. Oh, very cool. Yeah, that is the second copy I've ever seen, and it's a test press. Damn. That is cool.
Did you hear that? $6.
Yes, you win on that too. I don't remember exactly what I paid for mine, but it was definitely a bit more than $6.
Yeah. I don't like to talk about the ones I paid too much for, so it's okay.
It's always more fun to talk about, the deals that you found. Yeah, Eric, I do not know what's going on in that picture. Dude's got a serious case of jaundice or something weird going on. But and you got the thumbs up from Chromie as well. Chromie, hope you're feeling better, by the way. Chromie was a little sick earlier in the week, folks, so send him your love in the chat. All right, but yep. So Aaron, we're back around to you. Oh, yep, you're on camera anyway.
All right, here's No, I'm going to show this one. Changing my mind here. I'm going to show one without a cover, but I'll show that one next because I just showed one without a cover. This, man, this is an all-time favorite, and I just discovered this relatively recently in my collecting career, but Drakar Lit Draka. Dragon Music of Prague. Mystic Metal. That's fucking fantastic, man. Like, the singer has a voice like sort of what I was just like kind of doing with my Czech pronunciation, which of course is amazing. And that cover picture, I mean, what could I possibly say that would do more to sell you than this? This record is so fucking good. And like I said, I found it because it was on the Colosseum thing. And when I heard this, I was like, why have more people not heard of this? And it's because they're from, I was going to say Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, I guess. But
yep. Yeah, I've heard folks mention it over there too, but I'd never seen it or heard it. That it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, it's 1990, so for an American band, it would have been super late. But this is an awesome record, man. It's like heavy and powerful, not necessarily like super speedy. At least not so focused on that. You know what I mean? It's just great. I love it. Jurgen probably has that one now that I'm talking about it.
No, you have shown this on one of your shows a couple of months ago. And I tried to find a copy, but did not manage to find one.
Yeah, someone else would say English. This is the global.
Maybe I should get in the car, drive over to Prague, because it's only 1.5 hours for me, and get it over there.
And when I was there, you couldn't just go to Prague, Yeah, dude, do it. Get some other Czech shit for me, because it all costs what, like $5 there or something, probably.
But I think this shit is pretty heavy to find in Prague as well.
That's kind of the impression I get. Yeah.
Very cool one. All right.
I did a little networking with Hungarian guys to try and like get deals on Hungarian stuff, and it was a cool experience because it's like their local scene and it's nice to like hear them talk about it. But I didn't get any like spectacular deals, really.
I've been to Budapest 3.5 years ago. That shit is not easy to find. Even the old Poco Gap records. You think they are all over the place. No, they aren't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like Metallica records here. There are lots and lots of those, but they still people still pay $30, $40, $50 for them now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, even something like Drakar from 1990. I mean, that's now 32 years old. just over time, they're naturally going to dry up in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay, next pick. Again, a German band. The album is from 1988, and it's Outside. Never Insecurity. Anybody knows that band?
Not at all. Nope.
I recognize the logo, but I never paid any attention to them.
I just bought it for the cover. About 15 years ago. It was, I don't know, €5, something like that. It's more hard rock. It sounds very, very stiff. Look at the guys. They look stiff, and it sounds like that. This guy here is the main man, and he looks like a guitar player for
Modern
that's
Talk.
what guitar players in Germany for cover bands look like.
I love that they've got like the white, Photoshop YouTube border around their pictures long before any of that technology was around.
Even back in 1988, huh?
Yep. They somehow managed to Photoshop the album cover 35 years ago.
If you look at it closely, it looks more like they've taken pictures in front of a white wall and then cut it out with a scissor and just stick it on the cover itself. So, Chromie, do you know that album? Check it out. I think you will like it. I actually, on my notes, I wrote down Chromie would like that one. Is it really good? No, it isn't. But it's fun to listen to, and it's on the Powerline label. I haven't
Is it
looked
as
up.
good as the Is it as good as the Pandora's Box record?
I think it's a little bit better.
Really? Okay, because I love Pandora's Box, so I have to give Outside a chance.
So Chromie knows it, but he hasn't got a copy. Just for the cover itself, get yourself a copy. It's not that expensive.
That's a new one. No, I've never even heard of that band. All right. I reckon then I am up next. This one I've talked about some before, but I never hear anybody else talk about it much. It's a band out of Kentucky, which was probably the first strike against them in terms of conquering the heavy metal universe. It's this one, Crowhaven, with the Emotional Adjustment album from '86. So many things about this album just don't quite add up. They put a lot of work into having kind of a cool looking wizard with a battle axe, Gandalf kind of vibe going on. And then they have the absolute cheapest little band logo. The lettering, so it's like, that's kind of messed up. And it's a weird sound for an album. It's very heavy, kind of a powered out. You can tell it's the kind of thing that they wanted to be able to crank really, really loud, rolling around in their Camaros on all the back dirt roads in Kentucky. But it's very good. The singer's actually got a good voice. He can really belt tracks out very nice. The last two songs are actually kind of slow and moody ones, whereas most of the album is just this, real, in your face kind of loud tone to it. The intro is this little fake, like Casio, but set to the harpsichord setting. Kind of, long intro with creepy lyrics that sound like they're off a Glenn Danzig album or something. So it's just this weird style. It doesn't make any sense. It would not have really fit into any particular scene from the mid '80s. And for whatever reason, I've always just loved this album to death. It's a pretty rare one. It does not show up much, and it does get kind of expensive. It has been reissued, however. They put out a CD anthology of the band not too many years ago, so you can certainly check them out.
There's an LP reissue too, actually. That's what I have. I have an LP reissue of it.
Okay, yeah, they did on. I thought they did on vinyl and CD. I wasn't sure if they did both or not, but yeah.
It's
So
on Metal Soldiers Records.
that's right. Okay. So yeah,
And
it's
the album says this album is definitely dedicated.
Yeah. Hey, how's the sound on that original though, Alan? Does it sound like muted and kind of dull?
Not that I recall. It's been a while since I pulled it out and played the original, but no, it's actually for something you recorded somewhere. Maybe they made it as far as Cincinnati for the recording. I don't remember, but yeah, for what was obviously a very small time, short-lived affair, it actually doesn't sound too bad. It's got a little bit of heft to the production, which does help it quite a bit. And yeah, the band, they stuck around for a little bit, but they moved, no surprise, in more of a country direction. They actually recorded some bluegrass-sounding demos at one point. But they did have a few unreleased metal tracks too. They had some lineup changes along the way. And while it's really easy to say that, they went from this kind of, hard rock, metal to bluegrass sounds really corny. If they wanted to play live music in Kentucky in the mid 80s, they probably had no choice but to change directions a little bit. But anyway, it's just one of those, cool lost gems that nobody ever really touches base on. But I think it's an excellent album. It looks cool. It clicks all the boxes for me. I like it quite a bit. And glad that y'all are familiar with that one as well.
I'll give it another chance too. I'm going to listen to Grudge first, though. I'll tell you that.
Fair enough.
It's been long with the Grudge. I'd probably give the Crow Hater more of a chance because it looks so awesome and so bonkers, Mm-hmm. But the sound seemed kind of fucked up too. I was really kind of conscious of the fact that that seemed to be interfering with my enjoyment of it. So,
okay,
I'd say the chance though. It's been a few months. I just got into Blue Oyster Cult, 8 months ago. So
you never know. All right, Aaron, we're back to the top of the batting order. So it's all you.
All right. So I'm going to show this one. I was going to show a different one, but I never hear anyone talk about the Lady record, the Lady Killer EP. This is a great record. This is another one that has like a keyboard, so I don't know if it's Deep Purple influenced or if it's just that anything that has that keyboard sound makes us think of Deep Purple, so we say it's Deep Purple influenced. But yeah, it's an awesome record. I mean, they kind of look a little bit wimpy. The main guy is like Frankie Woodhouse or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess like this is something, but the guy was someone, but I really just know this EP and I love it. I think it's a real gem. And it seems to be kind of unknown.
This one has been reissued as well, right?
Yeah, I'm not aware of it, but it could be.
Yeah, that's one was on some of the first vinyl lists I saw back in the 90s, so I've known about that record forever. I think I heard it once upon a time, and yeah, it had a kind of a little bit of a dated sound with leaning into the 70s stuff, maybe a tad.
Yeah.
So it didn't make a big impression, but at the same time, yeah, I've got the Frankie Woodhouse solo album, the double LP, and kind of like that one, so I should probably give that another chance sometime. And yeah, I almost pulled the Frankie Woodhouse album tonight, but
that would have been.
Yeah, I didn't know what folks would make of that particular one, so I decided it didn't quite make the cut for the evening. Yeah. All right, let's bring Jurgen back to the front. And Jurgen, what have you got next?
So this next one actually is a private pressing from Germany from 1988. They are from Bamberg, which is just around the corner for me. Hardcore thrash. I think I've shown this on my channel. This is their first EP, Megamosh with Fight the Epidemic Prince. Like I said, it's a little bit like old DRI, old COC, a little bit of Cryptic Slaughter Chaos in there. Fun lyrics, some socio-political stuff in it. That thrashcore style was very popular in my area. Like you said, we had bands like Lavatory or Growing Movement. Actually, my copy is signed by the band. Megamosh did put out this EP, 2 albums. This is the debut, also private press, Call to Account. It's got the mascot again. Goofy band picture in the middle. So, yeah. All this stuff has been re-released on one CD in 2020. It's called Complete Works 88 to 92.
Huh. Who put that out? Did they put it out themselves, or was that a label?
Yeah, it's private.
Oh, I mean the CD.
The CD, I haven't looked it up. Could have been Bombworks. I'm not sure about that.
That doesn't matter. Just curious.
Yeah. So Megamosh, what a great name.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you can see him just sitting around thinking like, dude, we want to call the band Mosh, but we need something that sounds like even like, more epic. What if it was the Mega Mosh? All right. I guess we're back to me. So,
That's right.
okay, I mentioned earlier that I had traded one of the. Sorry, excuse me. I had traded a copy of the White Boy and the Average Rap Band album for another rare EP or album years ago, and I got this. If it looks a little undescript, well, it never came with a cover, but it is Critical Mass, or Ralph Johnson Presents Critical Mass. Now, right away, if you know someone's like presenting the heavy metal album, something weird is going on here. Never came in a real cover, but it came with a letter explaining why there's no cover, which is fantastic. They say in here, paraphrased, we've been waiting for this, really killer artwork to be done for a long time, but it keeps getting delayed. And there's such a demand for our music out there that we finally just decided to say, fuck it, and release it without the cover because it's the music that matters, right? Okay, sure. I can't imagine there were, thousands of people and distributors beating down the doors of Ralph Johnson asking, where's my critical mass? Where's my critical mass? I don't think that was happening. But so, yeah, they go on to mention that, they're already working on another album. They've got some of these great tours lined up. And the one reason this band, has like a tiny little footnote in history is that apparently it says here, we'd also like to tell you about another album coming out that's going to feature Michael Upton from Uppman, Uppman, from Sweden, who did apparently do vocals with Yngwie in sort of some of his early demo years. I think maybe around 82 or 83, this guy had sang for Yngwie, but I don't think he ever appeared on a demo. He certainly never appeared on any of the albums. And then somehow they were trying to get that guy to be doing vocals on the next Critical Mass album, which, spoiler alert, there was no second Critical Mass album. It never came to be. So this is all you get. So one album with no cover and a letter explaining in very hyped up detail why there's no cover and all the great things that are going to happen to Critical Mass in the future. This one, in terms of the year, this one came out around 85. Again, not a lot of details circulate on it.
And they're just called Critical Mass? I was trying to, can you show the label again, actually?
Yeah,
I've never heard of this one.
Critical Mass. And yeah, it's a little bit of a bitch to track down on GitHub and stuff because it's a very generic band name. But
Power Climber.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Musically, it's wanting to be sort of a slightly energetic, upbeat, standard heavy metal. It's not bad, but it's also not a lost gem of the ages or anything like that. They've got more musicianship going on than Grudge, but maybe not a ton more. It's certainly a listenable album. I'm probably sounding harsher on it than I should, but yeah, there's definitely sort of it doesn't suck, but there is a limit to the quality there. It's the kind of thing, I take it out and play it every now and then. Because it's such a generic looking thing, if you can find it in the wild, you sometimes can get a good price on it because it's a pain to look up and it looks like, just kind of a throwaway into plain white cover. If you find it, from collectors or dealers, though, that know what it is, it's going to show up for maybe like a couple of $100 because it is a hard one to track down. And it has, it has that one little footnote tying it to Ingwe that makes it desirable to certain people. I didn't get it for that connection. I just knew it was a hard to get album. And, at the time, it was a pretty fair trade to make for the extra copy of the White Boy album, which I didn't really need 2 of them. So I got this without having to pay a whole lot for it. So Critical Mass, definitely one that nobody's talked about and probably never will again, to be honest. All right, let's bring... No, Aaron, it is your turn to come back to the front of the line, and I'll try to catch up on a couple of comments while Aaron shows us something else cool and unknown.
I feel like this one isn't even that obscure these days. Anyone heard of this one? This is worth hyping, though. This is actually a reissue, too. This just came out a couple of years ago. But people don't talk about this record very much, and it's really good. This is Northern Haze.
No.
It's like some guys from, like, Nunavut. Like, look at all these fucking... look at the song titles. They're in that weird language. Like, Inuit shit. But it's, like, legit metal, Like, the idioms are a little bit weird. But it's just really good, man. It's hot, you know what I mean? And this the band's kind of been around for a long time. I guess the original recording came out as like a library published by some library or something. And it's not as hard to find as you might expect given that, but like 85, and I think some might have been re-recorded, but it's a weird record. I mean, look at that cover, I mean, and that's the title right there. Like whatever language that is, if they're singing that, I'll gamble $20 for a reissue. No questions asked. Yeah, Northern Haze, man. It's really good. And it's a weird record. It's unusual, but it's really like it's cool and it's awesome, but it's just kind of lovable too. You know what I mean? Very high recommendation. Yeah, Eskimo metal.
So after the show, I'm going to look that one up, and I'll probably get the reissue if it's available around here. Yeah, that cover is awesome. It's got an eagle on it, so what the fuck? And it's got the devil's claws.
And this guy.
Claws.
His fucking parka.
I need to get that one just for the cover.
Yeah. This is really good. Yeah, here I might as well show the back again. What the hell? It's great.
Folks are digging, yes, both the front and the back on that.
Chromie D's bitter. Honestly, dude, if this is your competition, at least it wasn't like... I won't even go there. It wasn't some bullshit. I'd rather get beat out by Northern Haze than... a lot of people. I don't even know where to go with that.
All right, well, let's then go to Jurgen and see what he's got next.
Let's move over to the UK for some generic, boring thrash metal. How much more metal can you get than name your band Metal Messiah? Look at that great artwork.
I've had my eye on that for a long time because it's so good. I mean, that's a 10 out of 10. My God, look at that. It's so fucking good.
It's generic thrash. It's boring as hell. I would describe it as Anthrax with a little bit more new wave of British heavy metal, but that sounds better. The description sounds better than the music does.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds kind of cool.
At least they put out that one record on RKT Records. Never heard of it. And because it's a thrash metal band, they've got the collage.
Of course.
You can see all their girlfriends. Why the hell does any band put on their girlfriends on an inner sleeve? What's a little bit better than the Metal Messiah record is a band called Arbitrator. They were called Arbitrator before, so that is all the demo stuff and all the old recordings before they released the Metal Messiah record. I'm going to show you the label. I've never seen that label before.
Wow.
RKT Records. So I don't know. I have to look it up. I didn't do my homework. I'm sorry.
Fuck homework.
Fuck homework. So yeah, generic UK thrash. We've got a lot of that in the UK, huh?
Yeah, I was going. If Marty were here, we'd have a 5-minute rant about generic UK thrash. But he's off, watching Donna Summers play live or a hologram of Janet Jackson or something. So we just won't worry about that. We'll move on. We'll move on to this one. This one, this is one that does surprise me. It has never come up anywhere to my knowledge. It's a private press from Pittsburgh. It's got 6 songs, so I guess I have to call it a mini LP. It's Valhalla. Came out in '84. Now, here's very metal cover. You've got Valhalla and things fighting, and yeah, that's exactly what you want to see. If you see this at a record bin, you're going to stop and check it out. It's pushing all the right buttons on the cover. The band picture, I love this guy up here. He's very pumped about getting his picture taken.
That must be the keyboard player.
Contrary to Aaron's concern, we do American teams could grow bad mustaches too. We got at least one there on the state side for you. Musically, this one is kind of weird. It does have a heavy keyboard presence for sure. It's very kind of atmospheric. If you stripped away the keyboards, it would be a very standard sounding early 80s heavy metal project. It's not bad, but might not jump out at you. The vocalist sings kind of high, not King Diamond high, but definitely kind of a very thin, higher voice. But yeah, they really are trying to give it this a little bit of sort of extra gloomy atmosphere, leaning into the keyboard some. It works fairly well.
I think it's awesome. I know
what
it sound. At first, I was like, "What is this fucking bullshit with all that like syrupy like synths?" But once I got over that, I love it, man. I love that record.
Yeah, it's one that's actually for folks that know it and collect the private press stuff from the '80s US scene. It's a pretty well-known record. Now, this one's not as obscure. It's just that I never see it come up in the YouTube community any at all. It's actually been reissued not that long ago either, with bonus material and stuff. And still nobody ever really cites it. For me, I've got a soft spot for it. Not only is it pretty good, as you said, Aaron, this was almost certainly the first private press album I ever got.
Oh, wow.
And it was a kind of a blind buy, but kind of not. Around '83, I would get sale lists, in particular from 2 metal vinyl dealers on the East Coast. And one time I'd gotten a list from a guy in New York, and he had this album listed, wanted like $100, I think he wanted $100 for it. And he always gave, these kind of detailed descriptions, like a little mini paragraph under each album he listed. And, so yeah, he described like, very keyboard heavy, but, cool, moody atmosphere, true blazing heavy metal, blah, blah. I was like, well, that sounds cool, but there's no way in hell I've got $100 to spend on a record I've never heard of. And literally like a week or two later, I got the updated list from the other guy that I was, buying records from, and he had the same record listed and wanted $20 for it. And I was like, that's the same record, but his items, he never gave any description at all. It was just name, year, price, very straightforward. And so I was like, well, one guy wants $100 for it, the other guy only wants $20 for it. There's a decent chance if I buy it for $20 and hate it, I could probably trade it to the other guy and get 50 or $70 out of it. So yeah, I quickly bought the $20 copy, left the $100 copy. Someone else got that one, I guess. So yes, got it for $20 back in the very early 90s. At the time, I didn't really even know what private press meant for records or anything. It sounded kind of cool based on the description in one catalog, and it was really, really cheap in the other catalog. So that's how I ended up with Valhalla.
That's a great story.
And that's one thing that's fun about pulling out some of these obscure records too. I hadn't really even thought about that for ages, but pulling the record back out and looking at it this week and just like, yeah, I know exactly where this came from and how it came about, how it ended up in my hands. Even though I knew nothing about it at the time, I could spare $20 to check that one out. All right. Let's go back over here. And Aaron, I think if anybody's counting, we're on item number 8. So what's your 8th entry for the evening?
Oh, shit. Yeah, I totally haven't been counting. So
it doesn't matter at all. I just had them listed over here. I was checking them off.
I'm going to show this one just for Chrome ED. This is a panda all in the pink. And it actually, look at it. It's like personalized too. You see that? First of all, look at their clothes and that logo at the top. Jesus. Like I looked at this and I was like, boy, does that look like a fucking piece of shit. But it made my spidey sense tingle. So I bought it for $6, I think, here in town, in fact. And I apparently did the right thing. But yeah, it says, Joya, hey girl, maybe now you'll remember me, kiddo. I'm trying to figure out which one signed it. Yeah, something. I don't know, but I don't know if I'd want to embarrass him on the show anyway. So I'm pretty sure it's the guy whose name is like written over. But yeah. Yeah, it has the original inner too. Let me show the label too. Does Chromie have this one?
It sounds a tad salty, so perhaps not.
What does it sound like?
Like shit. Like it's really crappy glam. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. I've seen pictures of it, but I'd never heard a note of it.
Like there are records that are bad where I'd be like, yeah, it's like the wages of sin. Okay. That's pretty bad, Like that's where I'm still into this. The whole yeah, Chromie's probably right. This is South Carolina. They just barely made tattoos legal here like 10 years ago. Yeah, no, it's not terrible, but these kinds of records are almost never terrible, it just kind of sucks, but it's just funny.
Yeah, that's one. If you buy it, no one gets to complain about what it sounds like if they buy it because it's kind of written all over it. All right. So, Jurgen, how do you want to follow up Panda?
Glam? No. A little bit of progressive power metal from Germany. Exploder with Pictures of Reality. This is kind of a private press as well. It's out on Rockwerk Records in 1989, I guess. It's well produced. Sounds very, very professional. It has actually been reissued on CD and vinyl in 2022. So in January, I guess. If you have the chance and you like some progressive power metal stuff, check out Exploder. Like I said, it's kind of a private press. And the band got the album from the pressing plant, picked it up, and drove all over Germany and dropped it at as many record stores as they could.
Wow.
As far as I know, there's 500 pressed of the original.
Okay.
That's a cool record, man. It's not my favorite thing ever. It's another one that I kind of want to like more than I actually do like it because they're called Exploder.
Yeah, but it's good. It's
a good record. It's well made. Yeah,
it's well made, well produced, well written stuff. If you like that that kind of music, you probably sounds more like a. It doesn't really sound like a German band, I think.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've always been kind of curious because I've always heard good things about it, but I've never got around to checking it out. I need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right.
Sounds a little bit, just a little bit like the early Omen stuff. A little bit.
Oh, well, that could work.
Yeah, that doesn't sound bad at all.
No, that's one I'll definitely make a note to check out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I don't remember him sounding like Omen, to tell you the truth. But as a touch point, now I want to listen to it again. You know.
Wait, let's see what Eric said. Okay. Well done, Rick. All right. Next up, odd one because of where it's from. This alone makes it kind of obscure. It's a band from.
I think I know what it is.
You want to guess what? We're going to South Africa. Yes, we are. And like Aaron, there's pretty much only one album I can show. I heard of 2 or 3 metal albums coming out of Africa in the 80s and 90s. There's only one I've ever actually heard, and it's actually quite good. It's this one by a band called Odyssey. And it's so weird. You would assume just that, they probably would have, pretty limited resources for trying to get heavy metal album put together in South Africa, but actually everything about this works quite well. The cover art is actually pretty cool. Big series of planets, outer space thing going on. Production on it is not bad at all, and it's really strong musicianship throughout. I've described this one before. It sounds a little bit to me like late 80s Riot, sort of Thundersteel, but more like the Privilege of Power album with a little bit less of the wackiness. Kind of trim out all those weird little sound effects and news clips and stuff. And you have the same kind of variety of songs. You have a few songs that are like very catchy, very FM radio friendly, like a couple of them on Privilege of Power. But then you also have some on here that are really like head downs, getting the tempo up, very speedy, banging numbers too. It came out in 91. I guess there's a chance they'd heard Privilege of Power and said, hey, let's copy that. I think that's, again, like Aaron said, I think that's a story I've just built in my head and want to believe. I ended up years ago talking to the sister of one of the band members, and she gave me a little more history. They, soon after that, they were had relocated to Canada. I don't know if the family was originally from Canada and had gone to Africa and come back years later or what. But yeah, pretty soon after the album came out, the whole family basically had relocated to Canada, and they, I guess, still did some music stuff, but never put anything else out. This was her copy of the album. She put it up for sale because she didn't really even have a turntable or anything anymore. She had the, her brother's music on digital files. He had converted it over for her long ago, so she could still hear it, but she just didn't want the album anymore, and I ended up buying it from her. It's one of those just oddball things. South Africa was the last place in the world you'd think of to find a cool heavy metal record in 1991, but they actually pulled it off really well. It's not only a very obscure, and it's kind of a pricey album when you find it. Musically, it's quite good. It's one of my favorites from that particular era. And Aaron, sounds like you're pretty familiar with this one too.
No, that'd be overstating. I'm aware of it. That's about it. I've never heard it. But I do know it well enough that I recognized the why when you sort of had it like
Yeah, when I was
when you did one of these for a sec. I was like, oh
right. Yep, good eye.
But you know, one of my favorite like 70s like sort of prog psych records is from South Africa too. The Freedom's Children record. Actually, Freedom's Children made like 3 records. It's the second one, Astra, that I just think is one of the greatest things ever. But that's up there with like My Solid Ground and like Gila, with like some of the best like psychedelic records from that era.
Okay.
And actually, my other like relationship, excuse me, with South Africa. You know the Jerusalem record from like 1970 or whatever? It was on Durham. It was produced by Ian Gillan, kind of a sought after old hard psych record. Yeah, I got a copy of that like dirt cheap because the seller was in South Africa and like people were afraid or something. But like it's like 20 years ago now, but back then it was already like a $200 record, and I got it for like 40 from some guy in South Africa, and he was like, I don't know, I guess people didn't want to bid. So I kind of feel like I owe a little bit of a debt of gratitude to South Africa for being so fucking far away that by being willing to get a record from there, I got a deal.
Very, very cool. Let me, sorry, again, driving this for the first time.
I didn't pay that much for it.
All right, Aaron, let's bring you back to the front.
All right. Oh, is it my turn? Shit.
It is your turn. Now I'll go over here and fix this little glitch that just popped up. So again, apologies to folks in the chat that I'm not posting as much as usual, since this is the first time I've driven the thing, trying to stay on top of switching everything back and forth. But yeah, what you got next, Aaron?
Trying to decide which ones I definitely want to show tonight. Yeah. So I don't have to keep going, but yeah, I think it is time to bust out this one now. My gosh. Yeah. And this is a French band. As far as I know, they only made this one record, but there are 2 different versions of it. There's this one, and then there's one where the colors are like inverted, and it's white on green. It's really weird. I kind of like this one more, so I pulled this one out. But like when a bunch turned up a few years ago, people were selling them in pairs. So anyway, yeah, Loup-Garou is one of my favorite songs, dude. It's fucking great. And the whole thing is like, it's like heavy and rocking and has sort of a punky edge and is, you know, it's easy to compare it to Motorhead, but probably Vulcan would be a better comparison for being French and having that sort of gravelly vocal sound. You know, I'm pronouncing it like shit, but Vulcan or whatever it is, you know, Vulcan, the band on Devil's Records. So it's probably closer to that than anything else, but it has kind of old sound, maybe like Dum Dum Bullet. You might compare them to if you're hip to that. But this is an awesome record. People don't seem to talk about it very much, and it's so punchy. There are a lot of people. I'm sure John Bip Bop Boom would love this record. Do you have this thing, Jurgen?
No.
All right.
I never heard of it.
You have?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm gonna have to look after that as well. So I think I have to sell a little bit more of my modern death metal stuff to get really cool stuff.
Yeah, you know, the death metal shit you can just fucking ditch anyway. Fuck that shit. I mean, I like death metal, but you know. But dude, do I want to hear? Yeah, I won't even go there. Let's just say that Loup-Garou is great, and so is Hymne à la Mort. You know what's funny is when I was getting really into French metal, I was working with a guy from France. So it's like I would go into work and be like, "Hey man, what does le bourreau mean?" He'd be like, "Oh, it's an executioner," and I'd be like, "Yeah, right on." So I tell people I learned my heavy metal French from Mark. Because I took like 2 quarters when I was in school, right? But all my metal vocabulary came from Mark.
Okay. Yep, looks like Eric's looking
Yeah,
for
that
one.
record is a definite Eric Bauer record. If I showed that once, I'm sure that Eric would have latched onto it. That record was made for you, dude.
If anybody sees it, point Eric in the right direction.
Yeah,
All right.
seriously. Like you all probably need that record because it's great, but Eric needs it more than you. So the first one that turns up, let him have, and then you all can fight over the rest.
Eric has dibs. All right, Jurgen, your turn.
So, what about a German band with an album title? Watch your ears and save your neck. We are back to our second attack. That's the album title. The band is...
Dude, is that good? I've been so tempted by that thing.
Expect No Mercy. It's good. It's in except all over it, including the vocals. Like I said earlier, poor man's Dirk Schneider. The band formed in 1981, and this one is from 1988. Earlier on, I was talking about Breaker and the link to Accuser. This band is another link to Accuser because René Schütz and what's his name, Frank Thoms, who are still in Accuser. They played in that band before. Expect No Mercy, poorly produced, the way I like it. The album cover looks fantastic. No, but
Dude, that looks perfect. Dude, everything about that cover is a 10. Fucking, it's black and white except for the blood.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the fucking title is like they didn't know. You know why? They had so much coke that night that the title just kept going and going. And then look at that picture. And then they took that picture the next day when they were out. The one on the back cover.
The Expect No Mercy record is on what is it?
Metal Enterprises?
Metal Enterprises, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's when I got interested, yeah.
They put out shit like AOK, which is called Nothing Core because the band couldn't even play. They released stuff by Fucker. Aaron, you expected me to show the first Fucker record by but I don't have it.
Huh.
That would be an awesome, awesome cover to show.
Nobody else has that record, too. You would win.
No. But I think I'm gonna get it just for the cover, even though the music is complete crap.
I've never listened to it. Does anyone in the chat know what we're talking about? Have you seen the Fucker cover?
I just love that Tom and Rick, the art guys, are kind of picking apart all the details on Jurgen's album cover right now.
Hey, how many people are watching right now, Alan?
Let's see. We have currently 61 folks in the chat, and thanks for hanging out with us, folks.
Let's see if we can drive up the price of the Fucker record. That first Fucker record is fucking. It's a rarity, man. Like if I saw one for less than $200, I'd snap it right up.
I think I'm gonna get a couple of Fucker records and then sell it to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I would never play it, but I would show it a lot.
You could frame the cover and put it on the wall in your living room.
Yeah, I'll make T-shirts to pay for it. I can afford the record.
I'm gonna buy one.
Yeah. No, Aaron's joking about trying to manipulate the price. Folks have done weird shit like that in the past, trying to do crap to make a record more expensive because they had some copies of it. There's a U.S. metal single by a band called Destroyer, and it's pretty good. It comes with an insert. And years ago, one particular vinyl dealer had contacted the band that got some copies, and he was really pissed that all the copies had the insert because he thought his personal copy is one of the few that had ever surfaced with the insert. So he allegedly destroyed all the inserts from the copies he got from the band rather than sell the copies with the insert because he wanted to kind of make sure that his copy would always be worth a premium because there'd be fewer inserts out there. So yeah, sometimes people do really kind of sleazy things to mess with the price of records.
Mm-hmm.
Random side story.
I wonder if that's true, though. I don't know if I've heard that. No, I think I might have heard that story from you.
I probably told it before. The person I heard it from I trust them that they are legit on that. That wasn't just a random internet thing. I talked to a person when I met them once, and we discussed that other seller. He's just like, yeah, you really don't want to deal with them. Like, yeah, I know they're pretty sketchy. Like, let me tell you just how sketch they are. And that was one of the examples they gave.
You know, it's funny. I think I know who it is.
It probably wouldn't be hard for you to suss that one out. All right, let me show. Oh, sorry, go ahead. All right, I'll go ahead and show another one here. This is another random one that's not particularly expensive or rare, yet I've never seen anybody else talk about the record. And it's not a bad record. Out of Denver, Colorado, we have Stun, with 2 N's, and Crank It Out. Very simple. It's one of those covers where it's simple. It looks kind of metal, but if you saw it flipping through the used record store, you'd have to ask yourself, is it metal enough? I don't know. You go to the back cover and you get no help whatsoever because there's no pictures. Just
actually, you know something, you kind of do get help, but it's in the wrong direction because that looks like a punk record.
The lettering's a little weird. You know,
it could be a weird metal record, but you see that kind of handwriting, like sloppy on purpose kind of style. You see that more on punk. That might just steer me away a little.
Yeah, song titles are kind of a mixed bag here. You have stuff like "Crank It Out." All right, that could be heavy. Calling you could be anything. Running. That's generic. Hammer Alley. Okay, that sounds like it might be heavier. What do you think of me now? No. So yeah, even the side B is the same way. Fade Away. Then you have a song called Iron Runners. And one called Tonight We Attack. So once again, it's teasing you that there's something going on here, but yeah, it's one of those where you kind of have to take a chance on it. The Stun album, and that's what I ended up doing. I was like, that is tempting, and I got it pretty cheap, so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a chance. It's a pretty good album. It's in that same mid-'80s style. It's neither thrash nor glam. It leans a little bit in the hard rock direction. The heavier tracks have enough bite that you can call them metal and not be ashamed to do so. Yeah, but there are a few tracks that don't quite come together or feel a little too lightweight. They should definitely be shifted over into the hard rock category a bit more. This one came out in '83. Just double checked to make sure I've got the date right. And so again, by '83, you have a few heavy albums coming out in the US, but you're just starting to get really heavy albums in the US. So you can't expect this to be Rain in Blood or Scream Bloody Gore. The timing's all wrong. So it's kind of a mixed bag. It's one of those albums there will be times I put it on and I really enjoy it. It's like, yeah, that's a cool album. There are other times I'll put it on and it just doesn't click with me, even these days. So at the end of the day, I give it a thumbs up. It's not bad, but it is an odd one, and it's not going to work for everybody because it's not quite the right weight. Not going to be quite heavy enough for some folks. When I poke around online, every now and then I'll see a copy of it, and it's what I consider one of those mid-priced rarities, where it's usually somewhere between $50 and $100. If you're paying $100, you're paying way too much. If you get it for $50, that's about as cheap as you're going to get it from somebody who deals records. If you can stumble into it in a record shop or a record show, it's generic looking enough that you might be able to get it cheaper. Either of y'all familiar with Stun?
No.
I've seen the cover before, but I don't know it, so I appreciate your opinion on it.
Okay.
So I've been curious about it, but I don't really know anything. And it's no fun to sample. This is one thing that Jurgen and I have in common: is we both don't like to sample shit online.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do it occasionally, especially with something like really. But I like to go by other factors. It's just kind of more fun that way.
Yeah. No, that's quite okay. This was one I got it before you could really find clips online very easy. I probably had poked around and found nothing. They had 1 or 2 clips in the auction because it was an eBay buy. And one of the clips was kind of heavy and one of them was not so heavy. So even the 2 clips left me kind of up in the air about it. But yeah, it's not a bad record. Never seen anybody else who really who also took a chance on it. But now let's see what Aaron wants to show next up. Gotta go back over here to this button. Here we go.
You know what your description of that one reminds me of is, you know, that record by The Kingdom, the one that has like a black cover and it has like a cross and a heart and a peace sign, and it's like half like pretty good metal, and the other half is like this just weird pop music that sucks. Like I say, weird pop music, and I want to feel like I'm making it sound like the electronic songs on Kent Rocks, which are kind of bullshit, but are kind of fantastic too. And like this isn't cool like that at all. This just really sucks.
Okay.
For some reason, that's what that stun record is making me think of.
It could be. I don't know the Kingdom record well enough to say if it's a good comparison or not. I know the one you're talking about, but I'm not sure I've heard it.
Well, you know, I thought about pulling that one out and I didn't because I forgot at the last minute. I pulled this out though. This is kind of another one that's pretty similar to what you're describing, man. It looks great, doesn't it? The War Child record.
Yep.
But it's kind of hard rocky. It's 85. It probably sounds a little past its time by 85. But it's really sincere, you know. It's a cool record, and like it's kind of lovable for the fact that it's anachronistic in the way it is, you know, because you wouldn't mistake it for a 1979 record. They just kind of have some of that shit going on. It's like that's what they're rooted in, you know. So they kind of are about as good as they look. And when you factor in this guy, that's really about right, you know. So. That's a cool record, you know. It's definitely. I mean, you know, you can probably figure out I got a deal on this one because it's a rougher copy, you know. Like what I paid for this, I was willing to check it out for. You know, what you see mint copies going for, it's not worth anywhere near that. But you know, if you happen to come across it or something like that, it's a fun record. It really is, and it's one that I listen to and go, that record is really kind of not special for all these reasons, but I kind of love it. I like play it again. And I find myself thinking, am I a chode if I play that again? Is it too soon? You know? So, yeah. I just want to keep coming back to, even though it's not even bad enough to be a guilty pleasure. Like, it's a good record, but, like, I really love it.
Yeah, I remember hearing it, and, yeah, it looked promising, but it didn't click with me, but I never circled back to it. Let's see. All right.
For 1985... that cover makes it look a lot heavier than it is. If that record had it didn't cover, that's kind of false advertising is the thing on that record. If they had sort of a less heavy cover, if it had the cover of like the Chevy record, then you'd be like, yeah, this is a great record, you know. But with that cover, you listen to it and you're like, they didn't deliver what they promised. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a problem that it has.
That would make sense. Yeah. Unlike Panda, who deliver exactly what they promised with the cover.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, let's see what Jurgen wants to deliver next.
Yeah, this next one is not really rare, and it's not really obscure. At least here in Germany, almost every thrash metal fan knows this record. The perfect mix of Voivod and Carnivore. Erosion with Mortal Agony. Have you seen that, Aaron?
No. No, I've never seen that before.
The music is everything from hardcore to thrash to progressive to doom. It's all over the place. The vocalist sounds almost exactly like Peter Steele on the early Carnivore albums.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
And it's a fucking great record. That's why I pulled that out. It's on We Bite Records, known for putting out some hardcore and punk stuff. Erosion is an awesome band. The cover artwork is great. They have more albums. Look at that. This is the second one. Thoughts.
I remember seeing that cover, actually. That came out around 1990-ish, didn't it?
This one is from, of course, It doesn't tell me. Yeah, I think it's released in 1990. Yeah.
I remember seeing that cover around. Yeah,
And
I
they-
definitely never heard it though, but it caught my eye. That one I don't recognize.
Yeah, this is the third album. So if you are interested in a perfect mix of Voivod and Carnivore, do check out Erosion.
All right.
That was band number 10, right? Yeah.
That was number 10, yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. What have I got for number 10? Got to remember, I always got to, behind the scenes, always move that and that. Okay. Number 10 is a case study in something that used to be a big high dollar rarity, and it's actually come down over the years so that it's a little easier to find and a little more affordable than it would have been, say, 15 years ago. It's also one of the heavier ones that I'm showing tonight. It's out of Canada, and it's been called Solar Eagle.
Yep.
This came out in '88. They were in Toronto, if I remember right. Really good. Very Agent Steel-like. The vocalist is very high in the register, very over-the-top kind of vocal delivery. The music, it's not as speed thrash as Agent Steel. It's a little more reined in, but it's still really crazy guitar work all over the place. Very, very good stuff. I think it would appeal to a lot of fans of late 80s heavy metal if they ever got to check it out. But for a long time, it was impossibly hard to find. It just never turned up. Very simple labels on it. And yeah, it was one of those things that kept climbing and climbing in price, and you'd see eBay auctions for it, and they would get pretty ridiculous. I saw it sell a couple of times. It would get over $1,000 for copies of this record. It's just like, shit. However, a few years ago, it's probably been 6 years ago now. I think it was 2016, plus or minus a year. One of the band members showed up at a big record show I think it was in London. It was somewhere in the UK, but let's go with London. And he had unsold stock copies. I guess they'd been, sitting in his basement, garage, closet for years. He had finally gotten wind that they were worth something. So you had some quantity of them finally released out into collectors' hands. And as such, the price on it has come way down over time. It also got a reissue. I think I want to say No Remorse Records did it. It may have been one of the other reissue labels like that. So yeah, that got some interest in the band, but also took some pressure off folks that really wanted it but couldn't afford this. Okay, they're perfectly happy getting the reissue. There's nothing wrong with it. It includes their demo tracks, which are also very good in a very similar style. Mm-hmm. And additionally, it did get bootlegged somewhere around 2010, maybe a little later than that. So if you are looking at buying an original copy, you do have to be careful and look at the details. There are bootlegs that people will pass off as originals. If you look at them closely, it becomes pretty obvious that it is not an old 80s cover. It's not an old 80s record. But if you're not paying attention, yeah, you could get screwed on it pretty bad. So yeah, this one, it's still kind of expensive. Expensive is relative. Some people say $50 is insane for a record. Some people think $50 is perfectly reasonable. This one still is going to probably cost you, I don't know, a couple of $100 for an original copy. But it's a hell of a lot better than the, $500, $750, $1,000 that copies were going for in the earlier 2000s. Tremendous record. If you're just
record,
it is an amazing record for again some of the things ever. It really is for some of the stuff I've shown tonight. I've tried to qualify that it's maybe a little bit at the lighter end of the spectrum or stuff. This one is a flat out banger. If you like thrash metal, if you like speed metal, if you like 80s power metal, Solar Eagle's the one thing that I've shown tonight that you should take a few minutes this weekend and go check out on YouTube. The vocals may not work for some folks. For some folks, the vocals can be a turnoff. He sings very high and very over the top, but it's like really
warbly almost. His vocals are almost warbly a lot of the time. But the songwriting is almost like if Voivod were writing for but the sound overall was like Liege Lord, like the first Liege Lord album.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's that kind of a sound, I feel like, but with the songwriting of a Voivod where it's just all over the place, you know, and you have to like listen and follow it, you know, because it's challenging.
You do.
It's a great.
They changed. You're right, Aaron. They change direction very quickly sometimes, but it's well put together. It's not haphazard. It's not like they don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's all very well put together, but it's all over the place. They did the one EP and the one demo, and that was it. A couple of the guys were in a later project called Candle Opera, because it sounds like candelabra, I guess. Those demos weren't nearly as interesting when I checked them out, but the Solar Eagle stuff is a really, really cool listen.
Yeah, it's a great record, yeah. I have the Reissue. The Reissue doesn't have a blue cover. It's got a brown cover.
Oh, okay. I haven't actually seen the reissue. I just assumed it would follow the same color scheme.
Yeah, I know they did something weird with the color. I remember Greeno had that too. He showed that. I might have talked him into buying that, actually.
Good deal. All right.
Greeno's fucking record is great, and it's not like hundreds of dollars. You can get it for $20. I've staked my reputation on it.
Good deal.
A lot of those showed up in his videos a long time ago.
Very cool. All right. So, yeah, we've each done 10. We've said we'd each pull about 15. So we'll do a few more if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah, totally.
I've got
So, all right, here's what people don't talk about. This is another one that's kind of misplaced. But this is the Zen Venom record. And like the first thing you notice about this record is that it's glued together in a weird way. Like the way the seams are folded, it folds over this way instead of around the back. You know what I'm saying? So like it already just feels kind of weird in your hands. And this is like a new wave of British heavy metal band in 1988, where they had a singer who like already had the punk impulses of like a Paul Di'Anno, and they went, "You just go nuts with that, dude. Go all in with that punk singing style in front of this," you know? Which actually, I guess in a way, I can almost compare it to Madhouse. I wouldn't say this sounds very much like Madhouse. It's a much better produced, great cover, right?
Yeah,
and it's another Australian one, but it sounds like in 1981, but it came out in '88. Except it doesn't quite sound like that 81. It kind of sounds like its own special thing, you know, and it's a really special record for that reason. Yeah. Then I don't know if there's a reissue of it, but I never see anyone else showing this thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool album. Definitely, yeah, a little different. All right, Jurgen, let's move you to the front of the line.
And let me quickly show you the reissue of the Solar Eagle.
Oh, okay, cool.
Looks like that, and it's got a poster and a large inlay with the history, and it's got a second cover for the demo.
Yeah, that's the demo artwork.
That is included in here as well.
Now, you want to know something about why I didn't buy that? Because this actually kind of factors into the whole topic of the night. That looks like a really nice package. And Alan's right. I've listened to that demo online, and it's really good. And I would be pretty happy to have a record of it here. But the thing is, it has that picture on the back, and it has the bio, and there's none of that shit on the original record. It's just plain blue on the back, and it doesn't even have their names. It's shit like Pinocchio and like dumb shit. And it's like this complete mystery who these people are, you know, but they made this great record, which is so amateurish in a way, but couldn't be more perfect. So I didn't want to spoil that by having like pictures of the band that would dispel all the mysteries and all the headcanon.
So, okay. Staying in Germany, staying with the topic of Accept and Scorpions influenced metal. We've been talking about the band before, High Tension, and the album Warrior. I really like all three of the albums. It's a little bit of a mixed bag, some harder songs, some softer songs, a great haircut. It's almost like an afro. These guys are brothers, and you can tell it by the hair. That shit is out on Blue Blood Records, Hot Blood Records. This is the second one. Awesome cover artwork.
Yeah, that's the only one I have right there. I thought it was stupid, and then I realized it was great.
Yeah, the cover artwork is great.
I was stupid. Yeah.
And their third and last one was that. High Tension, and the album is called Masters of Mustache Madness. No, it's actually called Masters of Madness. Look at that. I want to grow a beard like that, but actually doesn't work out.
You know, when's the last time you tried? I could have a good mustache till I was 40. But now I can grow a pretty good mustache, man.
10 years ago, but I think my German upbringing, if I try to grow it, it grows here, and that one in the middle, we had a guy...
like Gigi Allen.
Yeah, it's... No, we had some short Austrian guy here about 90 years ago, and that won't grow for some reason. So my mustache would look like... do you know... God. Curious Ungol's drummer with the mustache just right here.
Oh yeah, Rob Garvin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would look a little bit like that, and no, thanks.
Yeah.
So, High Tension.
Hey, Greeno's in the chat, by the way. I just want to shout him out a little bit.
Yep, here we are.
Yeah, Greeno is basically why I started my channel. Little salute there.
Very cool. Thanks for joining us tonight, Greeno. And once again, I'm hitting the wrong buttons, but now we'll hit the right button.
Right, man.
There we go. I'll stray over into Germany this time, but only partly German or temporarily German, because this is from a band that was in Germany, but they weren't German. They were stationed in Germany as part of the 3rd Infantry Division, which tells you something about the timing for this. As a group of American soldiers who, while stationed in Germany, I guess were bored and started a band and actually recorded an album. They went under the name Shadow and called the album Iron Umbrella, which cool cover. I'm digging the bat. I'm digging the Shadow. Iron Umbrella doesn't exactly have the same menace to it as Iron Curtain, but I don't know. Maybe they had heard enough about that and were kind of bored with the whole concept of the Iron Curtain. They wanted to take it into something more portable and turned it into an umbrella. Anyway, they put out this one recording, and it's actually quite good. It's a really nice slab of heavy metal, very clean vocals, decent singer. It's nothing fancy, no frills, but has good energy, good hooks to it in both the guitars and in the vocals. Crazy way for a band to come together. I've heard of one or two other projects that materialized the same way, where guys were stationed overseas and ended up, jamming on some music and pressed an album at the time. They were stationed in Schweinfurt, Germany, or Schweinhurst, I'm guessing. Sorry, my pronunciation for German not going to be really great. But and funnily enough, some of these guys are still around. I mentioned this record once in a separate video sometime back, and one of the guys actually left a comment and was pointing out that there was an error in the track list, that 2 of the song titles had got flipped. So they are still, some of them, active, and pay attention and check up on, I guess they're typing in Shadow Iron Umbrella on YouTube from time to time at least. So it's one of those, this was very much a Colosseum discovery for me. Somebody posted a picture of it there once, and a lot of folks were like, "What the hell is that?" And everybody pieced it together. Somebody posted clips of it. It's like, that's actually very, very good. And funnily enough, I looked for it for quite a while. The week that I found a copy for sale, I found 2 copies for sale. And so it kind of became okay, which one do I get? So I was talking to both people and eventually ended up buying one of the 2 copies and left the other one for somebody else to claim.
So, when you introduced that, I thought for sure you were going to show this because it's the same backstory.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. And like you said, there's 1 or 2 other projects that have that same history of being stationed overseas.
Yeah.
But I don't have that one. I just got the Shadow one.
American guys, the lack of long hair because they wouldn't have been allowed to have it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was recorded in Karlsruhe.
Was the band RAF? Did they do the same thing with their album? That they were stationed in, I want to say, in South America?
I don't know. I really only know that one by name, and I've seen pictures of the cover as this holy grail, but I really don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I've heard it. It's not bad, but I want to say they were in kind of the same situation where they were. The album got released in South America, but they were not South American. It just somehow it got pressed there because they were there temporarily for something. But let's see. Well, Aaron, I've got you full screen, and we're back to you anyway.
Oh, are we? Oh, shit, I guess we are. Okay. Well, do you want to see one from Texas?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've shown this before.
Okay, here we go.
I don't think anyone else has this, though.
I'm not sure many people in the Western or Eastern Hemisphere have that.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's a fucking great record.
Yes, it is.
Everyone grab the reissue.
Yes, there are good reissues of this to find, folks, and you'll probably want to go in that direction.
Yeah, so it's a great copy. I basically have this record because the previous owner wanted me to have it. So
very cool. But
networking, there's a friend. I don't even want to get the backstory. I shouldn't even tease it like that. It's a great record, though. Very cool piece, and I'm grateful to have been able to come across a copy. Believe me.
Yeah, that's nice. That one, for folks that aren't familiar with it, that's a grail item for a lot of collectors. Texas band, really, kind of a heavy technical sound to it. Good vocals. That's Mike Solis on vocals for that one.
Yeah,
right?
it's weird vocals too. Yeah, you sound kind of Oblivion Night too, but the militia really cuts loose.
Yep. But yeah, that's all right. Well, I'm glad
the vocals sound exactly like when it came out. I've seen the band, I think 7 or 8 years ago.
Really?
Here in Germany, yeah, and the singer sounded exactly like on the record.
You know, it sucks that you're in Germany and you got to see him. I lived in Austin for 1.5 years, and I never got to see him.
We have the Keep It True festival.
Yeah. I figured it was a festival. That's awesome that they came out for that. I bet they fucking felt like the Beatles.
The organizers of that festival, they resurrect so many bands. But Militia was one of the best. You can tell they practiced their ass off just for that show.
That's great, because it is a really technical record. Those aren't easy songs, man.
Yeah, you'd have to practice to sound even halfway good on that material if you hadn't played it for a while.
They released an album a couple of years ago that is actually not that bad.
Oh, it doesn't have any later material.
No.
I have not heard that.
Just talk for a moment. I'm gonna pull it out.
Oh, right. Absolutely. But the Militia, there's been an anthology collection and reissues and stuff. So if it sounds interesting to folks, by all means, go check it out. It's not hard to get the material, but it's a very hard to find the original. And I want to say the reissue, Aaron, is a 7-inch item instead of a 12-inch.
Where was that? There was a 7-inch reissue of it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was an official reissue or
definitely not.
Yeah. So folks, if you see a 7-inch version, it may look cool or seem like a an odd rare thing, but yeah, it was not. It's not the original version.
It doesn't sound too bad though. I used to have one a long time ago.
Shit, I can't find it now.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh.
Yeah, and there's the insert.
Let's see. Teddy, I thought about pulling that one, but I think I left it off the stack. We'll see.
Other people have that. That's why I didn't pull it.
Yeah.
Those records are great, though. The San Antonio Slayer records, Teddy, Tommy. Hell yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, those are both great. I mean, a lot of guys from that band went on to other projects, and deservedly so. There was a lot of talent in that band.
I got my copy of Prepare to Die in a lot of Slayer records because it was before Slayer had gotten expensive anyway, right? So you couldn't get that record anymore. But some guy had like 4 Slayer records that I won for like $40, and one of them was actually this one, which is worth more than that by itself. So
yeah, I
ended up selling the other Slayer records. I think I gave 1 or 2 away, and then sold the other ones for about as much as I paid for the lot. So I got a good deal on that record.
Very cool. Yeah, I
got
the second one cheap. Yeah, I found the second one, and it was funny because the guy knew what it was. He had it in a record store in Texas, but he had it priced for like $7. And I was kind of looking at it and thinking, like, am I missing something? Is it beat up or a punch? You know, was the cover screwed? It really wasn't. I checked up there, and I knew the guy. I'd been in his store a bunch of times, and I kind of like, I didn't want to shit him if he mislabeled something. So I was like, is this really all you want for this album? He's just like, yeah, that's cool, man. He's like, I figured you'd be the person that would come in here and buy it. No one else was going to.
That's
like,
really cool,
worth a little more than that, but screw it. Yeah, that's fine by me. So I was like, okay, thank you very much.
That is awesome. That's a really cool story.
Yeah, there are a lot of, you always hear sometimes, the stories about, the sketchy folks or the ones who are being assholes. There are also a lot of, really cool folks in metal circles. And it's funny because I see more of it, more people being nice when it comes to dealing with records in heavy metal than I do a lot of other genres. Yeah, I've gone to record shows my whole life, following family members and looking at other styles of music. And a lot of those dealers really are, there's something a little off about them, and not in a pleasant way. And I've never encountered nearly as much of that weirdness in the heavy metal community, which is cool. All right, but I am rambling. Let's get back on track with Jurgen.
Oh, right on.
Oh, okay. No, I've never seen that.
Militia
album.
And the Gods Made War, it's called, from 2020.
Wow, that's really that's 2020. Damn.
Huh.
Yeah, it's really good. Got, as far as I can see, all the old band members. So the same lineup as the EP.
That's awesome. Wow. I should check that out.
I'm writing it down so I don't forget about it with everything going on this weekend.
Yeah, it's good. It's out on High Roller Records.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Totally.
Actually, High Roller did put out no. It's Cult Metal Classics. So that is the reissue.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a different, slightly older. It's more of an anthology collection than just a straight reissue. But
the one with the black cover, the High Roller one?
Yeah, it's got the black cover version.
Yeah, that's what I have too for the demos. I like that this one preserves the original. I mean, that's really cool because that's what you want. That's the piece,
Yep.
If it's a replica, that's what I would want in my collection. God, that sounds shitty. Yeah, that's what I would want if I didn't have an original.
But Aaron,
I don't mean it that way.
You said you're close, but we'll edit next time. You got to tilt your nose up just a little bit more, and you got to emphasize that's what I would want if I didn't already have it in my collection, and then kind of look down the nose. So we'll get it right in post production. Don't worry.
I mean, one thing about that is it's a really good record, and the records I really like hyping are the shitty ones. So.
Yeah,
there's a little tension just built in right there.
It's all good. All right, Jurgen, let's get back on track and see what you want to show next.
I have shown that record a couple of times because it's my favorite cover artwork. Yes, it's better than every Iron Maiden cover. It's better than any heavy metal cover in general. Chainsaw with Hell's Burning Up.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bat with a chainsaw sawing into a mountain. What the hell is going on?
Dude, that is so good.
The artwork rules. The greatest heavy metal cover of all time, in my opinion.
That's
Drawn. German band, as you can see by the facial hair. It's raw speed heavy metal. This one is from 1985, out on the Bonebreaker label. It's got, these guys must have been pretty angry. Rage and Revenge, Midnight Hunter, Born to Kill, He Knows You Are Alone. What a great song title.
That is great.
That's amazing. I've heard about that album for years, but I've never seen it somehow. And now I feel like, I don't know if I need the album or just a giant poster of the cover.
Yeah. I would love to have a giant poster of that.
Dude, that is really good. Yeah, don't mind me. Go over here putting one in the shopping cart.
Beating everybody to the Rush.
Yeah. Out on Bonebreaker. Great logo for a record label.
Yep.
That is really that's like a classic cheapo fucking. I mean, was there even one good band on Bonebreaker?
Yeah, Chainsaw.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, Bonebreaker is like the real like shit can German metal. It's all great. See, the thing is, I don't know. I was going to start shitting on Dark Sun, but I kind of love them. They were on Bonebreaker too, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
See. All right. Well, I'll show one that's in the neighborhood. It's a Georgia band. They've actually had a long career and put out a bunch of different albums, but to my knowledge, they never really get any mention at all. So it's a band called M.
Oh, that record's awesome.
This album is so fun. The cover, just, metal as fuck. We got, giant skull, sword, severed head on this end of the sword. It all works so well.
You know what the best thing is? That the fucking skull has an earring.
Yep. Over here.
Right through the bone.
Yep.
Bonebreaker.
I love that record.
It is a really fun album. It's a little loose and crazy. It's a little over the top, but it's got big guitar heroics all over the place. Very catchy songs, very energetic, very fun. Their later albums, they start to kind of drift, I guess, in a little bit more of just a kind of a weird rock direction, and they really start to lean into the weirdness. I think the title of their second album is like Your Parents Are Aliens. And you can tell right away from the cover that they quickly drift away from heavy metal, per se. There's still some good songs and some heavy elements for at least an album or two after this one. But this is really the only one that's just, like a flat out banger of, old Private Press metal one. It's kind of a hard band to check out. They, for years, appeared to be one of those few bands that policed YouTube really closely. So it was hard to find any kind of clips or stuff. Yeah, I was always surprised because I wanted to check out some of the later stuff just to see how it compared. I knew it wasn't as heavy. And yeah, you're really hard pressed to find any MX stuff posted on YouTube at all. Maybe they've lightened up on that. I haven't looked recently.
I think I played some in a video and it didn't get claimed. Now, it would have been off a record in the background. It wouldn't have been like a quality.
Right, probably. They may not be worried about that.
Evidence one way or the other, but
yeah, I mean, in these days, you kind of expect you can find just about anything you want on YouTube. So it's always kind of odd when you run into a band with a bunch of albums and it's hard to find anything at all. But yeah, MX, really fun album, just flat out wacky heavy metal, but really, really good at the same time. And nobody ever talks about it, mentions it, shows it. They did a 7-inch around that time too that's on blue vinyl. I don't have it. And that one's got, a couple of heavier songs too. But yeah, if you see later albums with weird album titles, it's probably not going to sound like metal at all. So buyer beware on that kind of stuff. It may not be what you're expecting. All right. And before we shuffle back around, I do believe we have somebody lurking in the background. So
I did not have to come on. I've just been watching and kind of watching the chat. You're good.
So how was Frozen on Ice?
It was as invigorating as I was hoping it would be. Yeah, I haven't thrown my panties so hard in so long onto the stage. I mean,
but we know Mariah Carey always appreciates that.
She does. She does. How you guys all doing?
We are doing fine. Folks have been curious about your absence, but we've been keeping things pretty well on track and hopefully entertaining folks at the same time. But
Dude,
do you want to
candy shop talking about this shit? Everything is just so fucking awesome.
But yeah, do you want to stay in for a while? Do you have some records you want to show?
Nope. I'll jump out and let you guys finish up. I'll monitor the chat, Alan, so you don't have to sweat it, and I'll just chat with you guys after.
All right.
Alrighty.
We'll see you after the show then.
All
right. Everybody clean up the place. Hide the beer cans. All right. So, Aaron, so you've already kind of blown everyone's minds with Militia, but I have a feeling you're not quite done.
Oh, there's more. Let's, I don't know. What else is there? Shit, sorry, I wasn't really ready. I was too busy enamored with that other record. Let's show this one. I don't think anyone else has ever seen anyone else show this record. Emmy Strut.
Oh, yeah.
They sure look tough, don't they? This record's great. It's fantastic. It's really pretty straight ahead heavy metal, But it's like, it's 80, excuse me, it's 85, and it sounds like heavy metal, like sort of at its peak, before it sort of really split into like different factions with the speed and the glam and all that kind of shit. It still feels, they're wearing some like that, some of the kind of clothes and shit, but it still has a real working class kind of feel to it. And they have kind of a stupid name, but they're not really wimpy. This record just fucking rocks. It's great. I think this got reissued in the last couple of years too, so you won't be able to get a copy without
Yeah.
You have this one?
Do you have that one, Jurgen?
No.
I do not either. There's always been trouble pinning down where that band was from. I hear different states cited by different people. Do you have anything that pins that down better, Aaron?
Well, I can take a look and see what it says, but I don't have any like inside knowledge. Recorded at Attica Studios Incorporated. It doesn't say where though.
Yeah, I've heard people mention Illinois. I've heard people mention Indiana. I think I've even heard people mention Iowa. So it seems to be somewhere in the Midwest.
No, there's nothing here. I think I've heard Illinois and Indiana too. It's not sort of that part of the Midwest. I don't think I'd heard Iowa, but it's not Chicago either.
Right. Yeah, Teddy, that's a really good one too.
Oh yeah, Hammerwitch fucking rules, dude.
Yep.
I love Hammerwitch.
Yep. Their demo is weird. The later demo stuff is very different, but the EP or the mini LP is really, really cool. All right, let's switch over here and bring Jurgen back front and center for his next pick.
You see stuff like Aaron shows, stuff like that never shows up here in Germany. So if you got private presses from America, you have to really, really dig deep in your purse, in your wallet. So no chance for me.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we have the same problem with stuff from Germany and other parts of Europe. we can never find stuff like Future Tense or any of those albums over here to save our lives.
Well, and there are a lot of like actually really common records. Those are the ones that I find frustrating, especially now that you can't ship things over here for like $10 like you used to be able to. But it's the records that are like $5 and $10 records that are impossible to get over here, but there are like 20 of them for sale in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, yeah, $5, but I have to like order it, spend $30 to ship it. It's like, well, fuck, that kind of changes everything, doesn't it? You know?
Yep.
And there'll be one guy in the US who has it for 45, and you're like, well, that's sort of a premium on top of that. And it kind of pisses me off that he's taking advantage of that, but I'll get it faster.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep,
yeah, I'd almost rather deal with the expensive ones, like Jurgen was talking about staying away from, you know.
So next up, we're gonna stay in Europe and move over to Switzerland. Apocalypse with their self-titled debut album. Also great cover artwork. This one came out in 1987, and it's a self-release. The year later, Under One Flag put that one out again. So this is the original press. It's very much in the vein of old Metallica, Ride the Lightning era, let's say. Great, produced by Flemming Rasmussen.
Oh, really? Huh.
However you want to pronounce it. So great stuff. I don't know if stuff like that shows up on the other side of the Atlantic.
No, I don't know that one.
It's not a really rare record.
That's a really good record, though. That's kind of a sleeper record. I like that one too. I came to that one. Like, I don't have that version of it. I have the other one, the Crash version with the guys on the horses and shit.
Ah, okay, yeah. That's another cover for that. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just looked it up because I didn't think it was the same record. I thought I had the second one or something. Okay, I just learned something new. Yeah,
it has that. It's got like a reddish cover, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that from the same guy that I got something else from that I showed tonight too, but I don't remember what it was now. It's funny because I was thinking about that, and then it sort of came up. Oh, the Lords of the Crimson Alliance record, actually. I got from the same guy that I got that record from.
Their second album, Faithless, is not bad as well.
Okay.
That came out in 93, so it's out of your range, Aaron.
Not like it used to be, you know. It's because of the Russian shit and the Jesus shit. Because the Russians and the evangelicals were still putting out good records like 92, 93, 94. It's like the fact that they peaked late, like just extended the whole thing. And I'm grateful for it because it's good shit, you know?
Very cool. Yeah, I've never seen that one, but I'll have to check that out. Let's see.
It's not going to change your life, but it's a really good record. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah.
All right. Next, small band from New Mexico, the heavy metal capital of the United States, if not the Western Hemisphere, or maybe not. But they did have at least one band that was kind of cool back in the day and got an album out. I never see anybody talk about it, but it's a very fun one. A band called Volts. And the album is called Shock Treatment. Because if you name the band Volts, you're going to dedicate yourself to that theme all across the cover. This guy, yeah, he's having a bad day. On a little label called Gold Dust. And I guess this was actually at least a regional label. There are some other things that got released on Gold Dust. This band did the one album and one single to go along with it. It's what you'd expect for very early 80s metal. I think this was an 82 or 83. The pictures on the back are great, but kind of sad at the same time because it shows them like rocking out in this giant stadium, but it's completely empty. So you know they snuck into like the local high school football stadium during the off season when no one was practicing and took all these awesome pictures. And you just know in their minds they were picturing themselves like playing in big places like this to hundreds and thousands of people someday, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that never really happened.
Dude, that is great.
Yeah, it's an awesome photo shoot, and it's a really good record. It's it's a little amateurish, but they really have a lot of charisma about them. They are out there just playing their asses off and having fun with it. You can tell they're a practiced band, that they've put the hours in mom's garage or grandpa's basement, wherever they were allowed to practice. They did put in some time to get these songs pretty tight before they went and made this album. So it's just a good listen. Now, once again, this is, let me get the date right, 82. So again, it can only be so heavy from the United States in 1982. If you like music from that, heavy metal in particular, from that era in the U.S., this is a really nice one to pick up if you can find it. It is a bit of a pain to find. It is not super expensive, but it's not cheap either. It's probably going to be a 3-figure kind of record if you do come across a nice copy. The single is also rare, but the single's a lot cheaper. It never came in a picture sleeve. I should have pulled it out. I forgot to. So if you just want to hear a little bit of what the band sounds like, it does have 2 of the better tracks from the album or on the single, and that can be gotten for probably at least half the price of the album if you wanted to have original vinyl but not go all out on the album. So votes. Love the album to death. Very cool. There were a lot of bands in the southwestern U.S., not talking Texas, more like Arizona, New Mexico, that had this kind of similar sound. You can tell these bands were probably being influenced heavily by like Riot, Guy Speranza era Riot. They're going for that same style of early heavy metal, and they did a good job of it. And sadly, they never got to go much of anywhere.
That looks great, dude. I'm totally sold on that thing.
It's a really, really nice album. But Aaron, I bet you got another really nice album to show us as well.
Oh, sure. What else are we going to show here? I'll show this one. I'll show this one, actually, because, people are waiting for it, so I'll just fucking show it.
It's time. Chromie's been edging for 3 hours wanting to see this again.
I wasn't even going to show this one necessarily, just sort of there in case the demand was there. And of course, just in case there was any question about how dank this is, check out the castle. Yeah. Dude, as far as band photos, this delivers. I mean, look at that. Fucking holding a skull. And this dude with the axe or whatever the hell that is. Yeah, this is great, man. It's 4 songs. It's all great. The singer's a little bit like he kind of wails, but he kind of just hangs out on one note like through the whole song. It's kind of amateurish that way. But man, talk about charisma. It's such a great record, this thing. Like there's a reason that this thing became such a collectible. And part of it's because the guys, the old Monster Record guys, the Rockadrome guy were really good at hyping shit out of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's just a fucking fantastic record.
Yeah, it's one of those Grail ones that, in terms of quality, it kind of does live up to the hype when you get to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's 2 versions of the cover. If folks are ever on the lookout for it and see something with a slightly different cover, some copies have a slight alteration to the cover. You want to point that out, Aaron?
Yeah, this is actually the less rare version of it, believe it or not. Yeah, the original one was called Future Nights, and that was actually incorporated into the cover. It's sort of better than this. They sort of like blacked it out and put the new title over it. I don't know why they changed their minds on it, but the Future Nights one is even more sought after. I think there are fewer of them pressed, but I don't know.
Yeah, either one will set you back, a kidney, maybe a limb, a car payment or 3, depending on what you're driving.
Yeah, I got this through the network, actually. I traded for it. I traded for some shit that I found in dollar bins in LA, so I actually got a really good deal on it. And that guy got some good shit because what I found in those dollar bins was worth it. So we're both happy. He was a glam collector, and I wanted this that he found like in a thrift store in Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a really good deal.
That will work. Yeah.
That was more aggressive collecting days.
Yeah, that's something else to point out to folks. Again, I don't want anybody watching this thinking that, oh, geez, all these records are impossible to get and too expensive and nobody ever finds them. If you stick with any hobby or collectible long enough, you will eventually find some really good trades or some good deals where something will eventually pop up in a thrift store or at a record show where the person has no idea what it is. Now, you're not going to build an entire collection of this stuff that way, not in this day and age. But yeah, I think everybody who's been at it a long time has a couple of really cool stories like that where they stumbled into one of those really ultra rare albums in a unique way without having to pay an arm, a leg, a spleen, a pancreas, half their lower intestine, and all that stuff for it.
But a lot of it is like being cool to people, making friends with people. And like I talk about networking a few times here. I mean, I occasionally joke about how I don't give away all my tricks on here because, you know, because a lot of the shit, you know, yeah, there's some shit that I paid for, right? But a lot of the shit that I have, and I'm sure a lot of the shit that you have too, Alan, was like sort of tenacity, figuring out who wants what, how can you make sort of a deal and finagle it so you create a win-win situation and you end up with this rare record, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, the more sort of you can be creative by like trying to figure out weird ways of like tracking people down who might have something and that sort of thing, you can find great shit for a lot less than what someone might just ask straight ahead if you're willing to like put that effort in. And that's how I got a lot of this shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Those are good points. All right, Jurgen, it has rotated back around to you.
So we've talked about the Rockwerk label, which released the Explorer stuff. The only other record they released is Evenstorm with the album Attacks the Town.
You've hyped that one before. Fucker. You've hyped that record before.
It's pretty good. It's well produced. It's melodic speed metal.
I'll bet it's great.
I'd call it. You think it's great?
I'll bet it's great. I don't know, but I just remember you're talking about it. And I was like, oh shit, that sounds awesome.
Looks like a private press on the back. It's got an insert. Unfortunately, no band photos, so I don't have a clue if they have, you know.
Yeah, but they're more mysterious this way. It's still good.
It's got song titles like METAL, Position 69. There you go. Sword in My Heart, Hellfire, and Heavy Metal Fever.
Awesome.
This one is from 91, so early 90s release.
Yeah.
The label looks pretty professional, though.
Oh, yeah, man. That's like
that is one record I found at a record show, and like you said before, that was a person who didn't have a clue what he was selling. This is in perfect condition, really, really perfect. And I paid €5, maybe under €5 for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. See, Autumn's got a good question posted there. With private press stuff, I don't know if there's any, one big giveaway for it. Sometimes it's just the look, and sometimes it's just recognizing that it's not on any label you've heard of.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can kind of tell like how much information there is associated with like contact information and that. The easier it is to get a hold of them, the more likely it is that it's just some guy as opposed to a big corporation with a PR department, you know?
Yeah, sometimes the private press is also, there's not going to be quite as much legalese in the copyright lines. They sometimes skimp on that a little bit. But yeah, there's not really a hard and fast way to know for sure. Autumn, some things that will look like a private press when you look, like the Volts I showed a few minutes ago. It looks like a private press, but when I checked on it, Goldsmith actually was a label. Sorry, Gold Dust. Some other stuff was put out on it, so it's not technically a private press, but it's not a very big label either.
So Marty just wrote no record label listed. I don't know. A lot of these bands putting out their own stuff. They make up labels.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have a label name, but that's the only record that they ever put out. And
Right.
most of the time, it's not a record label; it's a private press.
And a lot of times it's kind of obvious too. Like on that Militia record, it's on Scythe Records, and it kind of has a logo that's sort of like the Militia thing with the blades and the logo. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of obvious what they're doing. So
Yeah. But you're right,
Wizard-
Jurgen.
Zuzu Records, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah. You're right there, Jurgen. It can be tricky. The first one I showed tonight, the In-Flight, is on something called Anchor Records. There's not really a logo or anything to go with it, but Anchor is a generic enough name you could think that might have been some kind of small label, but no, it was completely made up by the band. It made their one album and their single, and the band never did anything else. That was the end of Anchor Records because it was their own little label for that one release. Yeah, even looking for a label name or not can be a little tricky sometimes. All right, I guess it is my turn then. So let's see what I've got next. This one is similar to one or two others we've shown tonight, where the cover tells you absolutely nothing, but it turns out that it's a pretty good metal record, but you've got to take a chance because there's not much to help you. It's by a band called Zaxxus out of San Diego. And it just came in a plain white sleeve on the front with, it's actually a sticker with the band name on it. It's not even printed on there. Oh, I can't tell, but yeah, you can see maybe a little bit there that it's actually just a sticker that's jammed on. No information on the back whatsoever. This is a good example of one that looks like it probably was a private press, but technically wasn't. Accent Records was a small label that had other releases on it. You see this sitting on a shelf. Zaxxus is a very generic name. It could be metal, it could be industrial, it could be some kind of weird alternative college rock thing. Who knows? The song titles are One Nation, Shadow, Writer's Masquerade, and Run for Your Innocence. They don't even sound like particularly heavy song titles. So this is the kind of thing that I have seen records online for sales of this particular item that are pretty cheap. But if you're talking to someone who's a metal dealer, this is a very expensive record. It's hard to track down. It's quite good. It's an early 90s release. Let me double check the year on this one. I want to say it's about 91. Yeah, 91. Some copies have this kind of orange yellow label. Some copies have just white. It's white label, but still has the printing on it. It just doesn't have the orange color to the label. In terms of sound, a lot of U.S. metal bands, when you got into the early and mid 90s, they developed this distinct sound that is kind of like one part Queensryche and one part hard rock AOR. It's a little hard to describe. They're not thrash, they're not power metal. They're trying to play traditional metal, but it's coming, in the 90s, so it doesn't have the same sound as Omen or Obsession or early Metal Blade stuff at all. It's got a very different sound to it. And you run across these bands from time to time. Zealot Z was another band that had this same sound. There's a band, I think they were called The New Order, same exact kind of sound to them. They tend to have good musicianship, strong vocalists. I think they were really trying to play off of the success of Queensryche around the Empire and Promised Land era. But there's still enough metallic bite there to call it heavy metal. None of these bands had any success in the 90s. I mean, it was completely not what was popular in heavy circles at all, not popular in any circles at all. But they're out there, and if you like that style, Zaxxus is a really good example of it. The band did record a few other things. They had a demo tape. They might have had one or two full albums. I haven't looked up their discography in a long time. But this was their first release. Of the ones I've heard, it's the best, but some of the others are actually pretty solid too. But yeah, if you don't know what it is, you probably would never give it a second look. If you do know what it is, you can stumble into a really good buy because people will just put it, in the $1, $5 bin, assuming it's nothing, because it looks like absolutely nothing. But it is a good listen.
I would look at that. And you said it was like one part Queensryche and one part like AOR. Doesn't that just like later Queensryche, starting with like Wage for Order?
Yeah, no, I think it's more Queensryche like Empire and Promised Land era, where Queensryche, it's got that kind of these are guys that know how to play. These are guys that have spent some time learning how to sing, learning how to put songs together. But yeah,
I was just kidding on Queensryche, man. That's okay.
Yeah, they're just not heavy enough, to appeal to anything. They had nothing to do with death metal, black metal, power metal. So that's about the only way I can think to describe them. It is a hard sound to describe if you're not familiar with the bands, but I've come across a lot of U.S. bands that seem to gravitate towards that style around the early and mid 90s.
So I was talking shit, but I'm actually really curious because I'm not sure if I'm familiar with this stuff. I didn't know any of those other groups that you were naming either. That Zaxxus, I think I've seen a picture of it maybe, but it's not really been on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of curious to hear some of this shit.
Yeah, I have no idea if it'd be something you would like or not, Aaron. I can see where for some folks it's just not going to be interesting enough, or it's not going to be heavy enough. But personally, I like the style. I think those bands did pretty well, but they just never could get a break because they were so out of step with the music scene of the 1990s in the United States.
Yeah, I have another one from 91 here, actually.
All right,
you familiar with
this? Front and let's check it out.
This is the Bishop Steel record.
Yep.
Killing Asylum. And as far as I know, this never came with a cover. It just came with these black things. I thought about swapping this out when I got it. It's kind of funny because it's a little water damaged. But this is like the original one. It doesn't seem right to like swap it out with a new one that's in better shape. Maybe the cardboard on this one is thicker or something. But yeah, I mean, this is another one I kind of lucked into. I don't remember exactly what the route was at this point, but this is kind of, I think, known as being sort of from that same era, one of sort of the weird bands that was out there trying to catch a break and not,
Yep.
And it's a really good record. I like it a lot. They were definitely familiar with the Metallica's sort of classic period. But it's not like just a copy of that kind of sound. It's sort of informed by that. It's a really clean sound, but the songs are still their own in that. They forge their own identity, even if they sort of are a little obvious with their influences. So yeah, Bishop Steel is a solid record. That's a cool name for a band, I think, too.
Yep. Yeah, they had that record kind of gets overlooked sometimes too, because everybody's always chasing their 7-inch, which is rarer and a lot more expensive.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't know about that one until after this one I'd known about for like years. Like I tracked this one down, and then like 10 years later I learned there was a 45 that I didn't know existed. So
yeah, and that one's very, very expensive. The Bishop Steel one you just showed too, it's one that I see it listed over and over by some people for very high prices. Don't be fooled if anyone's out there. Yeah, if you've just got a bunch of money and it's burning a hole in your pocket, don't be fooled. That is not a record you need to pay a ton for. Copies will sell much, much cheaper. I think people see that the single sells for a lot. They figure out it's the same band, and so they're like, oh, this record must be worth a lot too. It does not sell in the same price range, not even close. It's not. They're not going to give it away. It's not dirt cheap, but it's not a real high dollar item. But it is a good one.
Yeah, I mean, most of all, I just say remember that just because someone's asking a certain dollar amount for something doesn't mean that it's worth that.
Oh yeah.
Time people comment on my videos and say, "Oh, that's an $800 record you just showed," and I go and look, and it's usually the same seller. But I'm like, no, dude, that guy basically put the thing out there saying, if someone is willing to give me that much for this record, then I'd let it. That's not the same thing as saying this record is worth this much,
Yeah, that is a very good point, Aaron. And a lot of people make that mistake. They just see somebody trying to sell something for a certain amount, and they assume it's worth that amount. And that's
or they're actually trying to sell it. Well, yeah, I think some of these guys actually just aren't even trying to sell it, and I don't blame them. I understand.
Oh no, they're not. They're putting it up there for a crazy price, just hoping that somebody has won the lottery, doesn't care, and will pay whatever it takes to get a record. And in that case, sure, they'll sell it. A lot of these folks, too, are just trying to show off their collection in a weird way. There's one person on eBay who's done this for a few years now. They list a lot of the rarities from their collection with absurd prices. They're not really interested in selling this stuff. It's a weird way for them to kind of flex and show off that, well, I do have this, and I guess I could sell it if someone's willing to, basically trade a house for it.
Right.
But no, those records aren't worth a fraction of what they're, supposedly trying to sell them for.
Yeah. So anyway, don't be fooled by that kind of shit. Do a little comparison shopping before you pull the trigger on anything expensive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Jurgen, we are back to you.
So we were talking about private presses, and of course I have to show that little 7-inch. That was my band. We put that out on our own in 1998.
Hey, so what's the story with that cover? That's pretty good quality cover art for just some bullshit release. What's the story with that? Did you have a friend who did that, or did you hire someone?
That was a friend of ours who was really big into airbrush. He did covers for Brainstorm from Germany. He did covers for Mystic Circle, a German black metal band, stuff like that. But we knew him. This is a guy called Michael Schindler. He was from Munich. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, he passed away. But we got that one for almost next to nothing.
Awesome.
We did not make up a label or something. We just released it as a private press. Looks like
that is really cool, man.
Very neat. Yeah, folks are commenting in the chat that, they really dig the cover art.
Like, I might flip past that because it looks too good.
But it doesn't sound good. I think I've shown that in a video as well. I found an old article in our local newspaper about the band, about us. That's what we looked like. Actually, that guy, our drummer Roland, he played in Paradox.
Wow, it's big time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's right, because, they're from, right there in your area.
Yeah, they're from Würzburg. That is about 80 miles from here. And I've got the white label pressing of it.
Very cool.
Right.
So it's the same single, but nothing special. I got that one from the pressing plant to just check out if everything's right. I think there's only 5 of them. So that is probably the rarest record I have.
That's awesome.
But it's worth nothing.
But still very cool.
So much for the private press stuff.
Yep. All right. So, getting kind of to the bottom of the stack here. I'll show this one, and then we'll see if folks have one or two that they want to wrap up with. This one is by a California band called Liquid Earth. It's a 12-inch single, so not a full album. You get the band cover picture right here on the front cover, looking very, very 1984, as one would expect, on a label called, I'm guessing it's Coop Records, possibly pronounced Co-op. Not sure which way they were trying to go. The label only released 4 records total, and 2 of them are by this band. This one, no one ever mentions. Again, they made a 12-inch single, and they made a 7-inch single.
And no one has either one. That's why
they don't turn up very often. The 12-inch, I think, was known before the 7-inch. Folks were chasing the 12-inch around for a few years, and then somebody figured out, oh, hell, they also made a 7-inch record. But not a ton. This was a discovery by a metal collector. Just a few copies turned up. They quickly got sort of absorbed into sort of some high-end collections. Not mine. Mine came later. And then just a few more copies have trickled out here and there over time. For a bunch of copies, too, something to note is when you look them up on, say, PopPsych or sites like that where they've sold, almost all the copies have water damage on the cover. And mine is no exception. Down here at the bottom, there is a little bit of water in the corner and a little bit over towards the center. And this is one of the cleaner sleeves. I've seen some that are better. I've seen several that are much, much worse than this one. So it's almost impossible to find. And with a nice cover, yeah, there's only a couple of them that have turned up that had essentially no water damage on it. Musically, it's very over the top, kind of wacky. It's good. It's not that it's not amateurish. It's not poorly played. They're just going for a really kind of crazy, let's just go in there and clang, bang, and wallop around and go for this very over the top, in your face kind of vibe, which appeals to a certain sect of heavy metal collectors, where you want something, like Jurgen said in the introduction, where you want something that's a little different, maybe a little more unusual. You've heard all the standard stuff a whole bunch of times over the years, and you want to check out something different. This band has a slightly different sound to them. You've got Molten Rock and Liquid Earth. The single has Liquid Earth on it, but it also has a track called Lion's Den. So one of the two songs on here is not on the 12-inch version. The band did resurface around 2010. That was right when copies of this were first starting to be offered on eBay, and some of them went for lots of money. They cleared the $1,000 mark on a few occasions. And then the band, did sort of reappear, and they put out some stuff. You could buy it as a digital download for a while that had unreleased material, some demo stuff. And I think they also did release like an album's worth of material, maybe a year or two after that. I don't remember for sure. But yeah, just another one of these, very small releases that if you're flipping through, like, this one at least will catch your eye. The logo's a little weird looking, not necessarily metal, but you don't have to glance at that picture long to figure out that there's something reasonably heavy there. I should probably pick that up. And if you do, you found a pretty cool and pretty rare release. It's not going to be everybody's. Some folks are going to sound a little too unhinged, a little too offbeat. But for me, I like it quite a bit. And this is one I traded into this. I traded some stuff, worked at, like Aaron was describing earlier. This was out of my price range, but I was able to work something out with somebody I dealt with a few times before. And was able to get a copy of it. I was glad I did. That's Liquid Earth. Aaron, do you know this one? I'm guessing you do.
Only by reputation from seeing pictures. You know what I was saying before about how that militia cover looks? Whoever did that cover, I'd like to do the exact same work for that Liquid Earth. Like releasing 12-inch, like with a replica without the water damage, So you can tell it's a reissue that way, The authenticity right there. And then re-release the 45 just as a 45. I don't need the other bullshit. It's fine.
Good.
That would be awesome. Just respect the release and make it so that we can get it without having to go through that, because it's bullshit, That's pretty fitting, actually, that we're winding down now, because we started with an appeal to the audience or to labels, and we can end with one here too.
Yeah, some of these things, definitely could use a nice reissue. I know a big one that never has gotten reissued, none of us are shown tonight, is the Salem's Witch album. That one's fantastic, and folks have been clamoring for a reissue for ages.
Other people have that, though. There's some of those.
You do see that. Yeah, I didn't pull it tonight because you do see that one. It gets mentioned and get a little love from time to time. And tonight we were trying to pull out some things that don't. So let's see. Aaron, any honorable mentions that you'd like to start wrapping up with here?
Oh, let's see what else I had here. Yeah, I can just whip through them real quick. I was sort of thinking that I'd respond to, what we were talking about. I don't think there's anything else here that I haven't shown before, though. One thing that I kind of pulled out just for the hell of it that I guess I'll talk about is I just want to take the opportunity to hype this thing one more time. I know Jurgen loves this record, but I think the Underdog fan club consists of 2 people. But this record is a fucking gem. I absolutely love it, man.
The first one is pretty good too.
Yeah, I need to get it one of these days, but I'm afraid it won't live up to this one. It'll leave me bummed out. I'm a little bit... If I like this one a little bit less, I'd be a little more eager to get that first record, you know? I'm kind of scared.
That second one is better, believe me.
Really? Oh, this one, yeah.
Yeah.
That first one looks really 70s too, I thought.
Mm-hmm. It does.
This is another favorite. Now, I know that other people know about this record and other people have shown it, but I don't know if anyone else has an original. So that was going to make a quick appearance there.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Varvar record, but I've shown this a bunch of times too. This one's 94 though, so it's even later than that 93 one from earlier. Yeah, and maybe this is a good one too. This DDT one. I don't think a lot of people know about this one.
That's a cool one. Yep.
I think this record is great, and it's just it's a little bit unhinged that way too. Like it kind of, you know, like it wants to be glam, but it's kind of too clueless. So like they write like glam, but they play heavy. And yeah, like a song like "Bitches," like normally we kind of look at that and go, "Really, Jesus," you know? But like between the fact that they're French Canadian, so their production, their pronunciation is all weird anyway, and just sort of the general awesomeness of the album, it just fucking rules, man. "Let the Screw Turn You On" by DDT. It's a fucking gem. Yeah, and just real quick, I had this one sitting here too. This one almost delivers on the mustaches, but they do full beards, so you know. Yeah, anyway, that's a couple more here, but I don't really have any super honorable mentions. I kind of got those out of the way at the beginning, so.
No, that's cool. Let's see. So, Jurgen, any final shout-outs that you would like to show?
I've got one record left, and I've got a short story to tell.
Awesome.
This is the first Soul Demise full-length album. Cover artwork by the same guy. And I sang on that record, but they have a picture of the new singer on the record, although I did the vocals for that. At the same time,
Motherfucker.
I was in a band called Violation. After I quit Soul Demise, same cover artist, as you can see. I did not sing on that record, but it's got a picture of me. So that one came out in the same month. That one is actually on a US label. It's on Red Stream Records.
Oh, really? Well,
Huh.
right on.
So that's the short story.
That's awesome. That's really fun.
Yeah. It's always amazing how many times that happens to bands where the band photos don't actually match the people that played on that particular record. I'm always amazed how many times that story comes up for different bands.
At least I mentioned in the liner notes. So. My last one is actually a pretty new record from 2008. Cast Iron, Leather, and Metal. And now you two guys guess what they sound like just by looking at the band picture.
Oh, goddamn, dude.
This feels like a trap
Yes.
now.
That is
I would say either Venom or Running Wild.
Kind of something
Running
between
Wild.
Metallica and Venom based on the...
No, exactly. It's Running Wild. It's a Running Wild rip-off of their very first record, Gates to Purgatory. Out from Hell, Running from the Law, Preacher of Evil, and Leather and Metal. So that one would have fit in the tribute show you did a couple of weeks ago.
Yep. Yeah, I did not know that one. I've heard the name, but never had checked it out.
only released these 4 songs. They released it as a demo tape, and Thunder Nights Records released it on vinyl. It's a Finnish band, and they played, I think, 2 concerts, and I've seen one of them.
Wow.
They played, of course, at the Keep It True Festival. And in the encore, they had Preacher from Running Wild playing with them. They played
awesome.
two Running Wild cover songs.
Was that who you said they sounded like? I glitched out for a second.
Exactly like Running Wild. Exactly like Gates to Purgatory.
Awesome.
Total fucking ripoff. Just look at them.
Yeah, I mean that's what it looks like.
Actually, the singer looks a little bit like Rolf.
Yeah, he kind of does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dark glasses the guy was wearing, though, I thought looked like Kronos.
Yep.
They might be going for that.
No, pure Running Wild ripoff. Marty, check it out.
Looks like a winner.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard the name before, but I had no idea it was like a Running Wild kind of thing. Cool. All right, I guess I've got just a few honorable mentions I'll quickly show. These also never get much attention, just things that got kind of pushed to the back of the stack tonight. I've shown this once upon a time, the 3-track EP by a New Zealand band called Confessor. So not the North Carolina sort of doomy band. It's called First Sin. Really good traditional 80s metal. It came out pretty early. I think it's from 83. It's on J-Rum Records, and this apparently was a New Zealand label that put out a bunch of stuff. Confessor are reportedly sort of the first traditional heavy metal band from New Zealand that got started in the late 70s. It's metal looking, but you never know what you're going to get with these. This one is really good right away. It starts out with like a really nice kind of squealing guitar line, very energetic, fast-paced. It's a solid metal release. So it's very hard to find, especially in the US because of where it came out. But I'm still surprised that nobody ever mentions it in terms of like cool albums from other countries or something.
I don't think I've heard of it before. So
it's a good one. It's very good. This one is out of Arizona. It's a cool tank on the cover. The band name is Loosely Tight, which
terrible.
It's one of those names. I guess they're trying to do the whole virgin steel or pick 2 words that don't quite make sense or something. Very good album. Best comparison is somewhere between late 70s Thin Lizzy and early 80s Riot. There's 1 or 2 songs that just sound dead on like they could have been Riot cover songs, but they're not. Very cool. The album, a ton of the copies show up. They have a lot of ringware on the cover. If you're a mint freak, it's a pain in the ass to find a nice copy of the album. It has been reissued on CD, though. You can get the music really cheap, really easy on CD. Nothing wrong with that.
There's a record of it, too, that just came out within the last year or 2. I think it was No Remorse or one of the Greek labels, but that's what I ended up getting.
Okay.
Honestly, I like that one about enough to pay for a $30 reissue, not for what an original goes for, So
it's definitely
a good time on that one.
It's definitely the kind of thing, those labels would do as a reissue. This one, I kind of know why nobody mentions it, but it's worth it just for the album cover. Victim out of San Diego. You got Power Hungry. He's so hungry, he's eating his fucking guitar. How much more metal than that can you get?
That's because the guitar is French.
But you've got excellent band photos here. Exactly what you want. This is not the greatest record, but it does have 1 song on it called The Bridge. It's a Legend of Sleepy Hollow in terms of the lyrics. That makes it worth the price of admission. The price of admission is not high for this record whatsoever. They did make a second release that it has just like a black cover, but it's got that same very distinct logo on it with the ball and chain thing. So, if you don't mind your sort of, slightly lower tier traditional US 80s metal, Victim is kind of fun.
That record's great. Alan is selling that record a little bit short. Okay, it's not the greatest thing ever. That's true. But that record, it looks really stupid. And I was put off by that cover enough that I didn't really give it a chance for a while. But I heard it was good, and I rolled the dice, and I was kind of blown away. It was way better than I expected based on reviews like the one you just gave. So that record is worth a chance, guys.
Yeah, I like that. I think the one song, yeah, definitely is Head and Shoulders is a good one to have. Maybe I need to replay the rest of it.
I've got like 3 things pulled out because of you.
Best or worst band title ever, a UK band called Wild Pussy. This has just gotten a reissue on CD. It's supposed to, I don't know if it's been released or if it's about to come out. I think it's No Remorse Records that's doing it. Very strong, very aggressive 80s power thrash. It's not traditional. It's not trying to copy Bay Area thrash or anything. It's got a more forceful sound to it. Maybe put it closer to something like Steel Assassin or Jag Panzer, but very forceful sound. Despite the goofy name, which could go pretty wrong pretty fast, it's actually a very, very good album and has always been kind of hard to find. But hopefully they'll have a nice reissue package for it, and everybody can get it much easier.
I think there's a record too.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think there's a record of that thing too, actually, for the reissue.
They should be. I'm guessing they're doing both.
Yeah, I kind of think of that record as being like a UK thrash before like the goofy shit completely rotted their brains. You know, because they had that goofy thing going, but the record's still really solid. It wasn't like Moshkinstein or any of that kind of bullshit, you know?
No, not at all. Definitely not.
That's a really cool record, that Wild Pussy record. That's a, yeah.
It's another, yes. If folks just want something that's really like strong, aggressive metal, of the stuff I've shown tonight, go check out Solar Eagle and go check out the Wild Pussy reissue. Those are the two that you're most likely to dig if you want something that's really strong, heavier metal. Last quick one to show. This is technically probably not even metal. It's probably just more on the hard rock side, but it's got a little bit of metal to it. It's a band called Visitor out of New York. It's an EP called 4x5. They spent most of their budget on something besides cover art. It's not a bad release. 2 of the songs are kind of lame, and 2 of them I kind of dig. They're kind of catchy. They did put out a couple of albums later on that are kind of semi-collectible, but more among, like the AOR hard rock scene. They're not quite metal enough for a lot of headbangers to dig. Only other thing to note is that there was another band named Visitor in New York operating around the same time, and you come across them on some compilation albums, but this band was out of Schenectady, and I think the other Visitor was probably out of New York City somewhere based on the stuff they show up on. But yeah, this, if you find it cheap, which you could because it doesn't look like it's worth anything at all, it's not a bad listen, but they expect it to be leaning into more of the hard rock side of things.
I've never heard them before, not even the name.
It doesn't turn much. You see the albums more than that. The EP came out before the 2 albums did. I've never heard the 2 albums. I'm always tempted because I like half the EP, but the albums sell just high enough that I'm like, I don't want to spend that much and get screwed with something. If they drifted towards a lighter, more melodic side, it wouldn't work at all. So a little too risky for me. And I do believe that is going to wrap things up for the evening. So Jurgen, Aaron, thank you very much for joining me on this tonight.
Dude, this is a lot of fun. I thought it was going to be fun anyway, especially because, like, I know you have the shit, and Jurgen and I are just kind of on the same wavelength anyway. Mm-hmm. So, like, but I had a fucking blast. This was like one of the best shows ever, as far as I'm concerned. I was like a pig in shit the whole time with these.
I'm glad to hear it. Jurgen, I hope you've had a good time too.
Yeah, that show probably will cost me a fortune, but yeah, whatever. I'm not selling my whole collection. I am buying stuff. Yeah, that's what collectors do, huh?
Yep, that is what we do. And again, just a reminder to folks, there are a few of these records we've shown tonight that, you're very unlikely to find for a reasonable price, but a lot of them we've shown you can, or you can get a reissue of for just normal $14.99 for a CD, or $22.99 for a new vinyl. You don't have to spend years tracking down an original or a fortune trying to get them. Check the songs out on YouTube. Most of these bands are on there. If you like it, yeah, there's nothing wrong whatsoever with getting a more affordable copy if you dig it. And if you dig it, talk about it. The whole reason we picked these is that they're things we think are kind of cool, but have never really gotten any attention in the YouTube community that we know of. Again, I'm sure some of these have been shown off. Folks commented once or twice that they had seen some of these, and that's great. Give some of these obscure ones a little bit of love. Nobody needs to hear us complain more about Iron Maiden's new release or whether or not Metallica is going to put something else out. The rest of the world is going to take care of that.
That's right.
We can throw a little love to these smaller bands who are not going to get attention otherwise. That's my soapbox, and I'll step down off it now. All right. Thanks to everybody who has been watching. We've held steady around 50, 60 viewers tonight. Hope folks have enjoyed it. There's been a lot of good comments. Sorry I haven't gotten more up on the screen, but folks have mentioned a lot of other cool albums that we certainly could have shown. Maybe we'll get back together and do a round 2 of this at some point in the future. But gentlemen, with that, I think it's time we call this one to a close. So again, thank you to everybody who has been watching. Marty, if as long as Celine is not in town next week, Marty can pry himself away from a center stage and hop back on with us for another episode. But for now, everybody take care, have a good weekend, and we'll see you again next week. And with that, we're going to hit the button that says end broadcast, and hopefully